Prologue. Lian Wang was engaged to Kuea Karate through a family agreement. Tracing the history of the Karate family meant looking back to a noble household of the past. The family owned many properties, including a silk export business and several clothing brands in Thailand. Meanwhile, the Wang family's ancestors had escaped war by boarding a ship and finding work in a silk shop owned by the Karate family. Through perseverance, they earned the trust of the Karate family. Jillian's grandfather was eventually promoted to manager and handled business operations across various branches in Thailand. Later, he married the daughter of an ice warehouse owner and resigned from the silk business to take over his wife's family business, which had branches outside Bangkok. The bond between the Wang and Karate families remained strong because Mr. Karate still respected his former employee. At that time, the Wang family faced financial difficulties after entering the soft drink import and export business, leaving them with a debt of 10 million baht owed to the Karate family. Mr. Karate suggested a future marriage arrangement between the descendants of both families, especially since the Wang family already had a 2-year-old child. Lian has good facial features. Think of this money as my grandson's engagement gift. But your daughter isn't married yet. Mr. Karate's daughter was in a relationship with a promising ambassador. Their wedding was already planned for the following year. Don't worry. I'll have grandchildren someday. By then, Lian will have grown up. I'll entrust my grandson to him in the future. The 2-year-old boy, none other than Lian, didn't understand what the adults were discussing. However, he nodded when his name was mentioned. You are very kind to us. I don't know how we can repay you. You are the only people I can trust. My daughter will probably follow her husband to another country, and our business may not prosper the way it once did. Times are changing. People don't wear silk anymore. The Karate family may not have much left in the future. Our family will depend on you when that time comes. Save this money for my grandson. Master, I can't accept it. Instead, let's make a promise. The Karate family will become our legal relatives. Lian will marry your grandson. If that's what you want. After signing the agreement, the Wang family's business grew rapidly. The soft drink company Lian was founded. They imported soft drinks and later began producing their own beer, becoming one of the founders of a successful business empire in Thai society. Meanwhile, the Karate family's stores gradually closed. Only one branch remained in a shopping mall in Bangkok's Old City. The grandson of the Karate family was born during the family's decline. Kuea Karate, a pink-cheeked baby, rested in the arms of the wife of a promising ambassador stationed in Sweden. She had chosen to give birth in her homeland because of the harsh European weather. Lian Look. Kiwalin Karate knew about the engagement agreement between her father and the former manager. She trusted him as much as her father did and treated Lian like her own son. 7-year-old Lian Wang, known as Lian, was a Chinese Thai boy with slightly dark skin inherited from his mother's side. He pursed his lips indifferently, imitating his father's calm demeanor. His sharp eyes were fixed on the pink baby wrapped in a white blanket. Only the baby's face was visible. The child was as small as a kitten behind a brewery. His eyes were closed, and his mouth was tiny. A kitten was fluffy, while the baby looked soft like dough. His name is Kuea, New Kuea. Lian, take care of him from now on. He'll be a good boy. Lian didn't like babies. The children of the employees who worked for his family were always crying and making noise. Only weak people cried. Lian was strong. Lian didn't cry, so the baby shouldn't cry either. But the baby was very small. Maybe crying a little was acceptable. Still, he'd better stop if Lian told him to stop. He shouldn't be naughty. If you love him, he'll be a good boy. I'll take care of him. I can raise kittens. I should be able to take care of Kuea too. He's only a little bigger than a kitten. Lian and Kuea were considered the ideal couple. Kuea Karate, 20 years old, lived as the descendant of a noble family. According to the family will, ownership of the family's assets would pass to descendants who carried the family name, which was why Kuea used his mother's surname. He was the only child of a high-ranking ambassador. His manners were impeccable. He was polite and adored by older people. His voice was soft and sweet whenever he spoke to his handsome fiancé. Lian, 27 years old, was as handsome as a Hong Kong movie star. A faint smile rested on his lips. His sharp eyes looked at the younger man affectionately, while his large hand held Kuea's. He always walked slightly ahead, careful with every step. Though his speech was blunt because he was raised in a Chinese family, His voice softened whenever he spoke to his fiancée. Standing together, they matched perfectly. After Kuea graduated, the two families would become one household. The Kurati family owned vast tracts of land, while the Wang family's business continued to expand. A magnificent and sweet wedding would take place in a few years. Maybe. Kuea Karate wanted to cry, scream, and grab the tall man sitting calmly before him. The current Lian felt like a complete stranger. What do you mean? 10 points for managing to keep his voice from shaking. Kuea maintained his gentle tone and spoke politely to the older man as always. In reality, he wanted to curse. But that would be improper. Kuea Karate, the son of an ambassador and the perfect fiancé, would never lose his composure. I said it clearly. Why ask again? I don't understand. Don't understand? Or don't want to understand? At last, he turned his handsome yet cold face toward Kuea. One large hand held a glass of expensive liquor. He took a sip and allowed silence to dominate the room once more. Don't we love each other? I think you've misunderstood. But Hia promised to stay with me forever. That's true. Lian nodded without denying it. Hia promised to propose to me. Yes, I will. But when I asked whether you love me, when you say you want to be with me forever, I can accept that. When you ask if I'll marry you, I don't mind. But when you ask whether I love you, I don't think I do. Hia, thousands of questions raced through his mind. He couldn't understand Lian's indifferent attitude. Why was he acting like this? Being together and getting married has nothing to do with love. If it did, we never would have stayed together this long. Go home. I still have work to do. I'll have someone drive you. Yes. Kuea understood every word, every meaning, everything Lian was trying to explain. It meant he had never loved Kuea at all. That much was obvious. All those years spent trying to be Lian's lover, they had been meaningless. It's okay. I can go home by myself. It's late. What would Aunt Q say? She's in Austria. She won't know. Stop acting. I'm not acting. I don't even know how. But I've realized I shouldn't keep bothering you, Hia. I've wasted your time all these years. After all, I'm a man. I can take care of myself and go home alone. As for the engagement, I'll talk to Mom. That's all, right? I'm sorry. New Kuea, don't make me angry. That's strange. Suddenly, everything I do irritates you. You're even angry because I want to go home alone. Unexpectedly, Kuea Karate was still smiling. He smiled as though Lian's annoyed expression was something precious. As though his piercing gaze were sweet as honey. Huh. As for the engagement, I'll settle it. We don't need to break up. We can simply live separately later. It's not just the engagement. It's about us. Whether I like it or not, I have to face it too. I want us to break up. He sneered. You really are something new, Kuea. Lian looked furious. That was rare. But Kuea was equally angry. His body trembled as his nails dug into his skin, trying to suppress the disappointment and heartbreak. Kuea wouldn't give up. Prepare a good explanation for why I want to call off our engagement. That's not difficult, is it? I can simply say I want to marry a human being, not a doll. Kuea finally realized that Lian could be cruel. He often scolded employees, but he had never mocked Kuea like this before. So this was Lian Wang's true nature? Am I that fake to you? An Annabelle doll. The strange grin on Lian's face was like pouring oil onto a fire. Kuea swore that if he had been holding anything, he would have thrown it at him. But Kuea Karate was still Kuea Karate. His pride meant more than anything. I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm sorry. Goodbye. The tall, slender figure walked out. Behind him, someone shouted. Someone take Kuea home. And make sure he's not afraid of ghosts. You're not my fiancé anymore. Damn you. Lian, you bastard. Chapter 1. Kuea Karate had been engaged to Lian Wang since the day he was born. Lian had been there through every stage of his life. Since the two families were close, it was natural for them to visit each other often. Kuea's father, an ambassador, frequently moved from country to country. Kuea attended a boarding school in England, so he only saw Lian during school holidays when he returned to Thailand. When Kuea was ready to enter university, the elders of both families thought it would be a good opportunity for the two of them to get to know each other better. Lian had no objections, while Kuea had been waiting for a chance like this for years. Kuea moved back to Thailand permanently. Lian was 7 years older than him. To Kuea, Lian had always been a hero. Lian played with him. Lian taught him how to ride a motorcycle. Lian helped him with his homework. Lian picked him up from school. Lian took him out. Everyone said Lian was a wonderful fiancé, handsome, young, and successful in business. Kuea's life was the envy of many because all of Lian's advantages seemed to belong to him. Kuea tried his best to make Lian love him. He wanted to be a good boy. He wanted to be a worthy partner. He hoped no one would ever say that Lian was unlucky to be engaged to him. We will be the ideal couple, the greatest couple, the perfect couple. Even so, the path to becoming a suitable partner for Lian was not easy. Lian Wang was not a gentleman. He was easily irritated, hated being contradicted, and was a workaholic. Work always came first. When Lian was fire, Kuea had to be water, although sometimes that water boiled into steam. Being with Lian meant acting like the heroine of a traditional drama, not a modern woman focused on her career. Perhaps it was more like a historical drama, where the female lead was polite, graceful, and respectful. A person like that already existed in his life. His mother, Lady Kuea, was gentle, elegant, and possessed every traditionally feminine quality. Meanwhile, Kuea, even though he was a man, he was far from delicate. Actually, calling him adorable would be ridiculous. If that were true, there wouldn't be countless comments on the university's cute boy page praising his handsome appearance, warm smile, and charming personality. Girls often liked him. Kuea only hoped Lian paid so little attention to university life that he would never learn about those things. Kuea stood 5 feet 7 inches tall. He wasn't some tiny boy people wanted to protect. He was an ordinary young man with long legs and a lean frame. Fortunately, that didn't matter. Lian was 6 feet tall and had a muscular body built through regular exercise. Even though Kuea was fairly tall, he still appeared much smaller beside him. People also misunderstood Kuea. They thought he was as gentle and easygoing as Lady Kuelan. His mother served as president of the Ambassadors' Wives Association, a group made up of upper-class women. She played an important role in organizing religious ceremonies and fundraising events, including the Red Cross Fair. Kuea often helped his mother, but helping her and genuinely enjoying those activities were completely different things. Even when he participated, it was mostly for appearances. In reality, Kuea was impatient and disliked handicrafts. His mother had taught him countless times, but eventually she gave up and accepted that her son would never become the refined young man she envisioned. All the desserts given to Lian were made by her. Every handmade gift came from her hands. Kuea remembered every lesson she taught him, but never mastered any of them. After all, he had been educated overseas. Nobody would know those things weren't really his style. Fortunately, this wasn't a burden. Lian had never shown much interest in homemade food or handmade scarves. Even when Kuea gave him gifts, he seemed indifferent. Lady Kuelan had been making gifts for Lian since before Kuea was born. The only difference now was that Kuea delivered them. That was why Lian never seemed particularly interested. Thankfully, Kuea dressed and behaved like the son of a noble family. He often wore clothes similar to his father's style, looking like a young English gentleman in a light shirt layered beneath a vest, complemented by a tie or bow tie, trousers, and leather shoes. He deliberately chose soft colors and an elegant appearance, creating a striking contrast with Lian's dark suits. To most people, he looked like an adorable fiancé. In reality, Kuea hated those clothes. Why were so many layers in Thailand's heat? They were completely impractical. Bright colors stained too easily as well. When attending classes, Kuea preferred wearing a Navy workshop t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers. However, Lian assumed that was simply how engineering students dressed. As if Kuea, the perfect fiancé and engineering student, spent his days studying comfortably in clean, air-conditioned classrooms. The truth was very different. Kuea was an automotive engineering student. At heart, he was a mechanic. And he hid that fact from Lian. He never met Lian after practical classes because his face was always covered in soot, grease, oil, and whatever else he had been working with. Lian would never accept the image of Kuea lying beneath a car, holding a screwdriver in one hand, a wrench between his lips, and a bolt tucked behind his ear. Lian must never find out. Never. Otherwise all of Kuea's efforts would be wasted. It had been so difficult becoming the perfect fiancé. The kind of fiancé who made everyone say Lian was the luckiest man in the world. The kind of fiancé no one could ever replace. Yet Kuea had assumed too much. He never expected Lian to say he didn't love him. Then why did he lie? Damn it. Kuea Karate was a complete mess. His eyes hurt from crying too much. The adorable new Kuea disappeared the moment he left the Kirati mansion in the old city. After waiting for Lian's car to disappear, he called a grab taxi and headed for his secret house, the house where he truly lived. Lian had no idea that his precious new Kuea rarely stayed at the Kirati mansion. The 3-story house belonged to his father's side of the family. It was hidden near Silem BTS station. The area attracted tourists because it was close to the Chao Phraya River and Asiatique. From the rooftop, the Ferris wheel could be seen clearly. The house stood in a narrow alley accessible only by motorcycles. That wasn't a problem. Kuea owned a superbike worth more than 1 million baht. He named it Chi Lin, which was the Chinese pronunciation of Gilan. He loved Lian so much that he named his favorite motorcycle after him. Calm down, Kuea. Unable to stay alone with his thoughts, Kuea called Con Dia. The moment Con Dia heard his voice, he came immediately. He doesn't love me. Not at all. He might have been stressed and said it without thinking. We know Lian. Con Dia was the only friend who knew about Kuea's efforts and the depth of his feelings for Lian. They had studied together at boarding school in England and became close friends. Later, they returned to Thailand for different reasons. Kuea returned to prepare for marriage with Gilan Wang. Con Dia returned because of family problems. Even when he was angry, he never said he didn't love me. But I forgot something. Kuea took another sip of beer. Even when he wasn't angry, he never said he loved me either. Kuea drank heavily. He had tried all kinds of alcohol while living abroad and attending parties. Since returning to Thailand, however, it had been a long time since he had gotten drunk. The first glass burned bitterly down his throat, but after several more, he barely noticed. Lian isn't coming back just because you're drunk. Stop drinking. Even when I want to get drunk, I have to do it in this house because I don't want him finding out. Dia, how am I supposed to endure this? I grew up with him. He was everything to me. Everything. His voice trembled. He even flew to Norway to visit me during school holidays. I had to stay there that year because I was sick. Was I too confident? Maybe Uncle Wang told him to go. Maybe he had no choice. Kuea, go to sleep. We'll talk after you wake up and clear your head. Lian will probably try to make up with you tomorrow. He never will. He never has. Kuea laughed bitterly. I almost forgot why I worked so hard. If I made one mistake and disappointed him, he'd leave me. And now he has. He's gone, Dia. He's not coming back. Con Dia didn't know how to comfort his best friend. Everyone knew Gilan Wang's reputation. Among wealthy families, he was one of the most intimidating men around. Perhaps it was because the Wang family ran a liquor empire. Whatever the reason, Lian carried the aura of a real-life mafia boss. So what are you going to do now? I'm breaking off the engagement. Kuea drained another glass. That's enough. I can't do this anymore. I'm exhausted. But you said Lian won't agree. Why don't you calm down first and talk to him later? That's not my problem. If he really wants to get married, he can marry a bridge pillar, a power pole, a trash can in Bangkok, or whatever else he likes. I'm going to live my own life. You think you can win against him? Trust me. Lian is scary. Just like that bastard. Those guys are jerks. Powerful jerks with sharp tongues. Con Dia sighed. He felt sorry for his friend. How could he not know how deeply Kuea loved Lian? What made it worse was that Lian had unknowingly nurtured those hopes all these years. Kuea had almost everything from Lian. Everything except one thing. His hands. The slightly rough hands covered in calluses. Hands like those of a laborer. Kuea had been obsessed with drumming since school. He practiced until his fingers bled. He even formed a band during high school. He also ran a YouTube channel where he uploaded drum covers. The channel had hundreds of thousands of subscribers. In every video, he remained anonymous. He never spoke. A black face covering concealed part of his face. He wore black clothes and a hat that hid his eyes. He wasn't particularly famous in Thailand, but he had received many offers from Europe, including invitations to create music and participate in interviews. Kuea rejected all of them. He wanted to keep his identity hidden. Besides, he didn't want to leave his beloved motorcycle behind. Even riding motorcycles was something he had sacrificed for Lian's sake. I would have obeyed if I were still new Kuea. Kuea pointed dramatically. But I've regained my senses. New Kuea is dead. Give me the scissors. Scissors? Hey, you're not planning to kill yourself, are you? Please move on if you can, but don't die. I'm not going to kill myself. Can you cut my hair? My vision's blurry. A haircut? You want a haircut? Yeah, cut it short. I've always wanted to try it, but I was afraid Lian would be angry. Now I don't care anymore. Let him be angry. It's my hair. I can cut it however I want. I'm Tai. That means I'm free. I refuse to be anyone's slave anymore. I'm cutting my hair until I'm satisfied. He was completely drunk. Kuea moved closer and took the glass from his hand before it fell. Kuea? Kuea. He sighed. Damn, you're passed out. We'll go to a barber tomorrow. I can't cut it myself. Besides, you might want a different style when you're sober. Kuea was smaller than Kuea and couldn't carry him to the sofa. Instead, he went upstairs to fetch blankets and pillows. There was absolutely nothing of new Kuea in this house. The secret house was a raw concrete building decorated in black and gray tones with only a few pieces of furniture. On the first floor, beside the superbike, stood a leather sofa and a built-in television while loud music blasted from the speakers. The second floor was a recording studio. 2 expensive drum kits imported from Europe occupied one corner. The third floor served as a bedroom. The rooftop was a place to relax. It was undeniably the house of a wealthy young man. The only traces of new Kuea were the photographs hanging on the walls. Pictures of moments spent with Lian. The new Kuea in those photos was a refined descendant of a noble family, dressed in expensive suits and smiling politely. Completely different from the real Kuea. The one wearing oil-stained t-shirts, carrying tools, and tucking bolts behind his ears while upgrading his superbike. I was going to hang our wedding photo here so Lin could see how handsome his father is. What a joke. The father of the superbike was a human being. And now even that father's existence seemed questionable. His mother had spent years shaping him into the perfect noble son. Even so, Kuea couldn't help screaming internally. His best friend would never truly be able to let go of Lian. If Lian genuinely wanted to cancel the wedding, he wouldn't have stayed by Kuea's side all these years. He wouldn't still wear the expensive engagement ring on his left ring finger. He wouldn't ask Kuea out every Friday. Lian always seemed to have a plan. Chapter 2. Kuea Karate, heir to the Karate family, descendant of an old noble house, and son of an ambassador, sat on the rooftop smoking while staring at the Ferris wheel at Asiatique. A cigarette rested between his slender fingers. Gray smoke drifted into the morning sky. The cool breeze parted his newly cut hair. Despite getting drunk the night before, he woke up early out of habit. Every morning, he used to call Lian. The life of a perfect couple was supposed to be happy. Lian was supposed to be the ideal lover. They called each other every morning and every night. They wished each other good night before going to sleep. Even when Lian was busy at his club, he still called Kuea from his office. Love was blind. Kuea had never realized how empty those actions were. The man had simply been distracted while fulfilling an obligation. The Pentagon, an upscale club in the Ekamithongler area, had been operating for 2 years. Besides serving as vice chairman of his father's company, Lian had started a nightclub business. Since the Wang family produced beverages, including alcohol, the venture seemed natural. The Pentagon catered to tycoons, businesspeople, celebrities, and socialites. Everyone had visited the club at least once. Everyone except Kuea Karate. Lian never allowed him inside because new Kuea wasn't yet 20 years old. Lian never understood Kuea's insecurities. At 27 years old, Lian was handsome, successful, and respected. He spent his time in a club filled with beautiful celebrities and models. How could Kuea be certain Lian had never cheated on him? He probably has. A broken heart could not heal overnight. Kuea skipped classes. He couldn't bring himself to go anywhere. He had even started smoking again after quitting for a year. Back then, he had quit because he was afraid Lian would dislike the smell. Lian had influenced countless parts of his life. Kuea loved him so much. He had done everything for him. Was it wrong to love someone that much? Was it wrong to spend years trying to be a good boy? At last, he understood a painful truth. Love is not a reward for being good. Kuea flicked ash into the ashtray and let tears roll down his cheeks. He wanted to stop crying. He couldn't. Not yet. He wanted to sink into the pain and remember it. Only then would he never fall into the same trap again. Kuea Karate would never allow Lian to hurt him again. Kuea stared at his reflection in the mirror and silently thanked his best friend for refusing to cut his hair while he was drunk. His hair still brushed his shoulders. There was no helping it. He was the son of an ambassador and Lady Kuelin Karate's precious child. His mother would never accept him shaving it off. She still had social events, relatives, and family friends who all knew him as New Kuea. The most drastic thing he could do was dye it. Light brown, a color he had never tried before. The barber neatly trimmed the hair around his ears, shaped the style, and shortened his bangs. The result was surprisingly fashionable. Is this enough? Yes. I like it. You look like a Korean idol. I never thought you'd change your style. Every time you came here with Mr. Lian, you always asked for the same haircut. The barber's words made Kuea smile faintly. He had no intention of explaining his relationship status. Technically, he and Hia Lian were still engaged. Ending it would not be easy if Hia Lian refused. The man wasn't holding on because of love. He simply didn't want the elders interfering in their affairs. Kuea had already made up his mind. Even if the engagement remained in place for now, he would use the status of Hia Lian's fiancé to live however he wanted. He would finally do everything he had never allowed himself to do before. His gaze dropped to the ring on his left ring finger. Silver. 3 diamonds. A gift he had received when he turned 18. Back then, Kuea had just returned from England. He had cried after Hia Lian gave him the ring during dinner at the Karate Mansion. There had been no romantic speech. No sweet confession. Hia Lian was still Hia Lian, and Kuea had been foolish enough to ignore his indifference. He was exceptionally talented at deceiving himself. Hey Jay. His next destination was a nightclub in the city. It was located in the same district as Hia Lian's club. Unlike the Pentagon, however, this club occupied the rooftop of a small building. There were open-air seats and private corners for customers who enjoyed indie rock music. Kuea played drums here. Gemini Miller, the club's English-Spanish owner, still couldn't believe he had recognized Kuea as the mysterious drummer from YouTube. The first time Kuea played here, Jay had walked straight up to him. I know you're Kieran, the mysterious drummer from YouTube. I'd recognize your technique and the way you spin your drumsticks anywhere. I've watched your videos countless times. Don't deny it. Then he had stared at Kuea in disbelief. What the hell? You're just an innocent-looking Thai kid. Kuea had named his channel Kieran, the Japanese pronunciation of Chilean, a name inspired by Lian. Even his secret online identity had been named after Hia Lian. How ridiculous. How could he have been so blinded by love? Let me sleep. You came here at 1 in the afternoon to sleep? What's wrong with you? And what's with that hair color? It doesn't match your good boy image at all. Jay leaned against the bar and frowned. Ignoring both his boss and his senior, Kuea dropped onto the black leather sofa in front of the stage. He stretched out, resting his feet on the armrest. Leather boots and all. Why won't you answer me, kid? Shut up. He pushed Jay away and closed his eyes. Jay continued nagging until Kuea finally pulled off his leather jacket and covered his face with it. Underneath, he wore only an oversized white t-shirt. This place was his sanctuary, the one place where he could be himself. There was no way Hia Lian would ever know about it. It was the complete opposite of the Pentagon. Calling it a competitor would be laughable. Kid, you've been asleep for an hour. Get up and sweep the floor. The smell of tobacco drifted nearby. Kuea opened one eye. Jay was 30 years old, though he looked younger. He preferred tobacco to cigarettes and loved illegal liquor more than he loved running a nightclub. You have cigarettes? I thought you quit. I can start again. The second time is always harder than the first. Jay shrugged. Love works the same way. Kuea rolled his eyes at the cheerful expression in those bright blue eyes. Jay was attractive, but Kuea had never looked at him that way. Jay was like a wandering bird, never staying in one place for long, always coming and going. Unlike Hia Lian. Hia Lian had always seemed steady and dependable. When Kuea was lonely at boarding school far from home, that reliability had completely won him over. Hia Lian had won everything. Kuea had lost because of his own weakness. A single man your age doesn't understand love? Where's my cigarette? I only have tobacco. Want to try some? It's good. Fine. Just don't put marijuana in it. I don't smoke weed. Jay laughed. I don't have any. And even if I did, I wouldn't share. Kuea relaxed as he smoked the tobacco. The familiar sweetness returned immediately. It was almost as if the smoke were scolding him for abandoning it. Why had he quit? What had he gained? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Damn. You look like a corpse after one roll of tobacco. Heartbroken, right? Well, isn't it obvious? You're all the same at your age. Suffering over stupid things. What happened? Did that Hong Kong guy dump you? Good. He looks like an asshole. Can you stop calling people assholes for once? Lian is kind in his own way. To himself, maybe. Not to you. Jay tossed a broom at him. Kuea caught it instinctively. The look on Jay's face clearly ordered him to start cleaning. Even though it wasn't his job, he still had to work to pay for the tobacco he had smoked. Only monks are better people than me. Who said monks are good? Did you ask them? What's wrong with being a good person? Good people are boring. Jay leaned back. Think about it. Who hugs a monk while watching TV? Who asks a monk on a date? Who invites a monk out for drinks or dinner? Stop talking before you end up in hell. Kuea pointed the broom at him. What kind of example is that? Exactly. Monks are hard to approach. You've spent years acting like some flawless saint. Nobody finds perfection interesting. It's just self-sacrifice. Jay pointed at him. To him, you're boring. That's not true. I always ask what he likes. If he doesn't like something, he'll say so. So who's been pretending all this time? Jay paused, then asked calmly. Has he ever kissed you? What? Have you two ever slept together? What the hell kind of question is that? Kuea's face instantly turned red. Even Dia had never asked something so personal. Jay, however, seemed determined. He kept asking about every possible position until Kuea threatened him with the broom. Kid, this is important. Jay's expression became serious. Men are adults. They have needs. They either handle those needs themselves or with a partner. If he doesn't want to do any of that with you. He shrugged. Maybe becoming a monk isn't a bad idea. Kuea froze. He doesn't want to touch you. That's the simple truth. He doesn't desire you. He doesn't see you as a future spouse. Jay paused. You're just a doll. The word hit Kuea like a punch. A doll. The same word Lian had used. I want to marry a human, not a doll. How did things end up like this? Kuea lowered his head. He doesn't love me. Then don't make the same mistake with your next partner. Be yourself. You only live once. Stop tying yourself to someone else. Stop being a puppet. Jay grinned. Being nice is overrated. Be an asshole. Trust me. It's fun. I don't want anyone else right now. He sighed. I haven't even broken off the engagement yet. Why not? You think that guy's never slept with someone else? Kuea couldn't answer. Deep down, he had considered the possibility countless times. Lian had never kissed him, never touched him intimately. Maybe Kuea was so boring that Lian didn't even want him. The man was handsome, rich, successful, and in the prime of his life. Why would he stay loyal to someone he didn't love? A thought suddenly appeared. A terrible thought. Since I can't fix anything. Kuea slowly smiled. Can I become a terrible fiancé instead? Jay blinked. Oh, now we're talking. I'll make him so angry he won't be able to stand me anymore. Kuea's smile widened. I'll expose all his secret girlfriends. I'll force him to marry one of them. Then I'll finally be free. He'll be so embarrassed he'll want to bury himself. His eyes gleamed. And then I'll give a 5-minute presentation about what an asshole he is. Jay burst out laughing. That's quite a plan. Revenge. Kuea's smile disappeared. It feels like I wasted years of my life because of him. I won't let him get what he wants so easily. He should have told me the truth a long time ago. His voice shook. Why hide it? What if things don't go the way you expect? Jay's tone softened. What if you can't let him go? What if you end up as strangers forever? Not even friends. He sighed. That's a lose-lose outcome. I don't care. Kuea clenched his fists. If I burn, he's burning with me. Are you sure? At this point. Kuea paused. Tears began falling again. I don't care about him anymore. It would be an interesting game before they became strangers. Maybe it was better if they hated each other. Then neither of them would have to pretend. Kuea would never have to watch Lian fall in love with someone else. Ah, Jay groaned. Why are you crying again, brat? You come up with a vicious revenge plan and then cry like a baby. He ruffled Kuea's hair. Come on, go play the drums. Play until the sticks break and your hands hurt. He grinned. The beer's on me. Sob, my life is so unfair. Jay pulled him into a brief hug. They had known each other for only a year, yet Jay had already heard enough of Kuea's tragic love story to last a lifetime. Behind all the pain, Kuea was talented, passionate, and brilliant. He smiled often, but somehow, he had never truly been himself. Jay had never understood the strange relationship between Kuea and his fiancée. Lian Wang was famous among nightclub owners because of the overwhelming success of the Pentagon. The engagement between Lian Wang and Kuea Karate was no secret either. A wealthy heir and his noble-born fiancé. Everyone knew about them. Even Jay, who normally ignored gossip, had heard the story. And somehow, he had accidentally hired the fiancé himself. There was one question he never intended to ask. It wasn't his place to interfere. The question was simple. Did anyone know that Lian Wang had been coming to this club for the past 5 years? Long before Kuea returned from England. Long before the Pentagon even opened. Who would have thought that a famous nightclub owner secretly loved indie rock music? Before Jay learned how complicated their relationship really was. Before he discovered the identity of his most loyal customer. Before he connected the surname Wang to the mysterious drummer. Everything had already spiraled out of control. Because Lian Wang came to this club almost every night, just to watch the kid play the drums. Chapter 3. Kuea Karate felt completely wasted again. The live music show had ended after he broke 2 sets of drumsticks. The singer and the other musicians had already gone home, but Kuea remained at the club. As promised, Gemini gave him free drinks and instructed the staff to serve whatever liquor he wanted. He was so drunk he could barely see straight. After drinking for 2 days in a row, he seemed to get intoxicated much more easily. He kept pouring drinks and swallowing them in one gulp. Jay's words were difficult to understand, and Kuea laughed without even knowing what was funny. Suddenly, someone approached his table. Kuea could no longer sit upright. Before his head could hit the table, a hand caught his chin and lifted his head against his solid chest. Who was this? We're going home. Who? What? Lian? That bastard Lian? Take the boy home. Go. Jay wanted him to leave with Lian. Wait. He wasn't leaving. He wasn't drunk yet. I'm not leaving. Who are you? Don't touch me. I don't like it. Stop acting, new Kuea. Wake up. Are you my husband, ordering me around like that? Let me go? Jay, give me another drink. That's enough. You'll crack your head open and die in my club. Go with Lian. Hurry up. I want to close. But he wasn't drunk yet. Why was Jay throwing him out? Jay said he would help him get drunk. Why did he lie? Why was everyone a liar? Someone kept pulling at him, annoying him endlessly, but eventually he gave in and followed. Kuea didn't even know who this person was. The nightclub lights were too bright, and his legs gave out before they reached the elevator. Kuea, Lian. Why was Lian here? That couldn't be possible. The warmth supporting him felt like Lian, but his mind refused to believe it. Lian couldn't possibly act like this. Kuea forced his eyes open and squinted at the man. No, this wasn't Lian. This man wasn't quite the same. Lian always wore tailored suits. His hair was neatly slicked back, making him look like a Hong Kong mafia boss. His expression was always intimidating. But this man wore a patterned t-shirt, jeans, and boots. His hair looked casual, and there was even a thin beard on his chin. No, this wasn't Lian. Lian would never forget to shave. The man in front of him merely looked very similar. Fake Lian, let me go? I'm not going with you. Stand properly, new Kuea. Stop pushing. Kuea sniffled. Don't call me new Kuea. Only Lian can. Lian always warned him to be careful when choosing friends. Kuea Karate came from a wealthy family and was engaged to an equally wealthy man. People with bad intentions might approach him for money. Lian often said people like that were everywhere, and that new Kuea needed to be vigilant. Don't trust people who speak sweetly for no reason. Why was this man acting so familiar? He even called him new Kuea. This was suspicious. This man was definitely dangerous. Then what should I call you? Kuea? Or idiot? Stupid? Bastard? Anything. Just don't call me new Kuea. Oh, the man smiled. The fake Lian smile was incredibly charming. Lian had never smiled at him like that. But that smile wouldn't shake his heart. His heart belonged only to Lian, even if Lian didn't love him. Still, no, don't smile. Don't smile. You don't like seeing me smile? Yeah, I'll fall in love with you. Stop flirting. You don't want to fall in love with Lian? No, I don't want Lian anymore. I'm sick of him. He's an asshole. Don't flirt with me. But I want to flirt with new Kuea. No, stop it. I said stop flirting with me. He pouted. Ugh, I only love Lian. I want to go home. Let me go. I'll take you. No, I'm going home alone. Let me go? I want to order a Grab. It's dangerous to go home alone. Safer than going with you, asshole. Very rude, new Kuea. You're naughty. Why are you hugging me? I told you to let go. Don't you understand? You're crazy. Where's Grab? Grab. Grab. Kuea dug through his pocket for his phone. Before he could figure out where he was, the fake Lian carried him into the elevator. Inside the cramped space, Kuea caught the familiar scent of cigarettes and expensive cologne. What a perfect imitation. The details were unbelievable. We'll find your Grab downstairs. Why do you look so much like Lian? Are you trying to trick me? Did it work? No. Lian already tricked me. Go fool someone else. He no longer had the strength to resist. His head hurt too much to think. Jay's strange beer and homemade liquor churned in his stomach. The tobacco only made everything worse. It had been years since he had gotten this drunk. Back in England. Before he became a good boy. Please get in, sir. A glossy black car waited outside the building. Even the driver looked familiar. He resembled Lian's driver. Kuea asked the fake Lian about it, but received no answer. As he stumbled forward, the man gently rested Kuea's head against his shoulder. It even smelled like Lian. Where's his superbike? Young master didn't bring it, sir. All right. Now they were in the car. The cold air conditioning made him sleepy, but the alcohol burning through his veins kept him awake. He began babbling nonsense. Kuea only wanted to hear the voice of the man beside him. This person looked so much like Lian. And Lian was the kindest person he knew. Hey. Your hands are warm. No. Your hands are freezing. Are you cold? No. You have a ring. The same kind Lian wears. The fake Lian also wore an engagement ring on his left ring finger. If this man was trying to trick him, he was doing an excellent job. Kuea loved the warmth surrounding him. If this stranger wanted something, he could take it. Kuea pulled out his wallet. There. Take this. 500 baht. The man laughed. I'm only worth 500 baht. What's funny? Here's my credit card. My ATM card too. Take them. I'm rich. Just withdraw money. Isn't that enough? No. The man shook his head. I want your house key. Kuea frowned. This man was greedier than Lian. Lian never wanted his money. I don't have a key. My house uses a digital lock. What's the password? Lian's ID number. The man smiled again. So what? It was the safest password possible. 13 digits. No thief would ever guess it. And the alarm would sound after 3 failed attempts. By the way, this man smiled a lot. His lips were beautiful too. The fake Lian looked like a softer version of Lian. Did you ever want to kiss me, Hia? Kiss. Did you ever want to hug me? New Kuea, couldn't you just avoid cheating on me? Please, just love me. If you want to kiss someone, kiss me. If you want to hug someone, hug me. Whatever your secret girlfriends can do, I can do too. His voice cracked. The important thing is loving me. Even a little. Just a little is enough. I want you to love me. I've been a good boy. I want to marry you. Tears streamed down his face. Sob, marry you. I'll get rid of all your secret girlfriends. Kuea cried again. His shoulders shook violently. When would this pain finally disappear? Why did heartbreak hurt so much? Why couldn't it end after one night's sleep? There's never been anyone else. The darkness clouding Kuea's vision made the lie easy to believe. For a moment, he convinced himself this man was Lian. A version of Lian who had never betrayed him. A version who belonged only to him. His heart pounded wildly. He felt weak and exhausted in the warmth surrounding him. The man's nose brushed his forehead before slowly trailing down to his cheek. Then, his first kiss was stolen. Kuea had never kissed anyone before. The kiss made him feel weightless. Soft lips nibbled gently at his own. The scent of cigarettes and expensive liquor lingered on his tongue. Kuea grabbed the man's shirt, not knowing what else to do. Some small part of his fading consciousness told him to pull away. This was wrong. A stranger. This had gone too far. He wanted to protest. Wanted to push the man away. But another kiss sealed his lips. His remaining awareness vanished beneath wave after wave of dizzy warmth. Yeah. His voice sounded hoarse when the man finally pulled back. The stranger lingered close, breathing heavily. Warm breath brushed against Kuea's cheek. Kuea raised a trembling hand and touched the man's face. His fingers traced the curve of a brow before brushing over soft, damp lips. Everything looked exactly like Lian Wang. Kuea Kurati accidentally fell for someone who looked exactly like his fiancé. By the time they reached Bang Rak, Kuea's lips felt swollen and numb. The man had kissed him all the way from Thongler. The car stopped at the main road because it couldn't fit into the narrow alley leading to the house. Kuea's mind was a complete mess. He couldn't make sense of anything that had happened. He only remembered the man asking where he lived, then kissing him before he could answer. Kuea fumbled for his phone. His hands shook uncontrollably. The fake Lian took it from him. The address is saved in the Grab app? Home. Kuea had marked the secret house as home. Before he could respond, the man selected it and handed the phone to the driver. Then he kissed Kuea again. Warm hands wandered across his body, draining the last of his strength. The man was far too good at kissing, and he kissed for far too long. Kuea felt exhausted. New Kuea, we've arrived. A little logic finally returned. And with it came shame. Kuea Karate, son of an ambassador, descendant of a noble family. He had kissed another man. How embarrassing. Fortunately, the dim streetlights hid most of the stranger's face. Kuea could only clearly see his chin. If he looked properly, he would know exactly who the man was. But he didn't want to know. Whatever happened tonight had crossed a line. I don't want to know who you are. The man fell silent for a moment. Then he nodded. We'll be strangers. Kuea nodded as well and climbed out of the car. Too drunk to stand properly, he leaned against the wall near the entrance of the townhouse alley. Which house is yours? The fake Lian got out to help him. He was so kind. So kind that Kuea wished he were the real Lian. But Lian could never be like this. Impossible. The third one. The secret house was no longer a secret. It didn't matter. This man was a stranger. Soon, everyone would know about the house anyway. New Kuea would disappear. Lian no longer wanted him. Get some rest. Don't think too much. The sound of the engine faded into the distance. Kuea collapsed onto the leather sofa inside the house. At least nothing terrible had happened. He had been too desperate, too emotional, too reckless. Thankfully, the stranger had only brought him home. Only. His first kiss was gone. The first kiss he had saved for Lian. A young man's dream of giving his first kiss to the person he loved. It belonged to someone else now. At least one piece of him no longer belonged to Lian. Not everything had been taken. Lian Wang sat alone in his residence above the Pentagon Club. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. Yet sleep felt impossible. He touched his slightly swollen lips and sighed. Wrapped in a bathrobe, he sat with one leg crossed over the other in an elegant black chair. His sharp gaze rested on an old photograph. A 6-year-old Kuea held an elephant-shaped balloon in one hand while gripping the hand of a smiling 13-year-old Lian with the other. At that time, Kuea had been angry because Lian couldn't visit him due to final exams. So Lian bought him a balloon. The same photograph now hung on the wall of Kuea's secret house, directly above a picture of the million-baht superbike. So the secret house had finally been discovered. The scattered puzzle pieces were slowly coming together. There was still much left to uncover. Investigating his fiancé should have been easy. Instead, it had become surprisingly difficult. Kuea Karate was a genuine racer. Lian's men couldn't keep up with the expensive BMW superbike. Not when Kuea disappeared into narrow alleys where cars couldn't follow. And the traffic in Bang Rak was a nightmare. The hidden townhouse sat deep within a maze of residential streets. Lian picked up the photo frame. Behind it was a black business card. Kiran. The name stood embossed against a sleek modern design. A mysterious drummer's business card. On the back were contact details, including an email address and a YouTube channel. Lian would never have suspected anything if Kiran's appearance hadn't resembled his fiancé so closely. Like 2 peas in a pod, Kuea hid his identity perfectly. From everyone. Except Lian. Other people might not recognize Kuea Karate. But Lian Wang had known him since the day he was born. A faint smile appeared on his face. He flipped the black card between his fingers before placing it back exactly where he had found it. Then he stood and finished the last of his drink. His gaze returned to the photograph of 6-year-old Kuea. What else are you hiding from me, new Kuea? His eyes softened briefly. Real affection flickered there. Then the look changed. Sharp. Predatory. Like a hunter preparing to strike. Kuea Karate had tested his patience. And he had done it very well. Lian Wang hadn't felt this excited in a long time. The porcelain doll he had treasured all these years had suddenly transformed into an Annabelle doll. Did the boy really think he wouldn't notice? After all, there had only ever been one doll in Lian Wang's display cabinet. If new Kuea wanted to play, then he would play too. Lian Wang had been Kuea Karate's playmate for a very long time. For the sake of new Kuea's smile, he had always yielded. He had always let Kuea win. But not this time. Chapter 4. Lian Wang had been engaged to Kuea Karate since Kuea was 7 years old. Kuea had always been Lian Wang's primary goal. Business had turned him into someone who trusted very few people. He constantly pushed himself to become better so he could run the company without obstacles. At the same time, he wanted Kuea to live without worries. As long as Lian succeeded in business, Kuea would never have to struggle. He hoped Kuea would have a happy marriage, just like Lian, who married an ambassador and lived happily with her husband and children. Lian Wang grew up in his mother's ice factory. His parents worked day and night just to support the family. Not long after Lian was born, the family business fell into difficult times. They borrowed money from the Karate family to rebuild the company. From that support, Lian Beverage Company was born. Lian had no choice but to follow in his father's footsteps. He devoted himself entirely to work and earning money for the future. Even after achieving a high social status, many old money families still referred to him as a newly rich businessman from a Chinese family. His engagement to a descendant of the Karate family only made him work harder. The Karate family came from an old noble lineage. They owned vast amounts of land throughout Bangkok and other provinces. Although many branches of the family's silk business had gradually closed due to changing fashion trends, they still earned millions of baht every year through land leases. Lian had even brought the Karate silk brand back into the market. Many modern designers now wanted to create contemporary clothing using Thai silk. The 7-year age gap had always made Lian see Kuea as a child, a precious porcelain doll he treasured deeply. When Lian was in university, Kuea was still in middle school. Lian Wang had never wanted to interfere with Kuea's teenage years. That period of life should be spent enjoying friendships, making memories, and trying new experiences. You only get to be a teenager once. By the time Kuea graduated, Lian planned to have enough wealth that their future marriage would be completely free of hardship. Lian Wang thought it was a perfect plan. Was it wrong to want his fiancé to never have to work? He didn't want new Kuea waking up early and sleeping late after marriage. That kind of life was exhausting. He wanted Kuea to be comfortable. However, Lian became so busy working for their future that he missed many things. He had given Kuea too much freedom. He never realized how wild Kuea actually was. Not until he finally discovered it. Kuea's rebellious side. The way he tried to break off the engagement. From any perspective, it was adorable. Even drunk, he was cute. His mischievous fiancé's drunken declarations of love had brightened Lian's heart. And now his mood was even better because it was Friday. Lian Wang and Kuea Karate always went on dates every Friday. This time, however, Lian was considering extending the date through Saturday and Sunday as well. The previous plan had failed. A new one was needed. The real Kuea's personality was completely different from the rigid image Lian had always presented. How troublesome. Kuea Karate had been lying beside his superbike for nearly 40 minutes. Fragments of last night's drunken incident kept replaying in his mind. He remembered some things. Others were completely blank. But one thing was certain. He had kissed someone. His lips were swollen. A strange scent still lingered on his clothes. It smelled very similar to Lian's perfume, and that bothered him immensely. Lian had never left his scent on Kuea before. They always kept a careful distance. Kuea checked the house several times, worried that he had been robbed. Fortunately, nothing was missing. Apparently, the man hadn't entered the house. Or maybe he had. But if he did, he hadn't touched anything. That was a relief. I hope that man never appears again. His presence affected Kuea too much. He didn't want any more complications. After lying around in silence for a long time, Kuea finally got up and headed to class. His friends had been trying to contact him all day. 2 days had passed since his life suddenly became strange. Enough. Time to return to normal. Kuea attended class, then went home. He even rode his superbike to the mansion, which was unusual. Every Friday, Lian normally picked him up for their date. Kuea wasn't sure if Lian would come this time. After all, he had already asked to break off the engagement. Although Lian refused and insisted on continuing, he wasn't obligated to keep caring for Kuea. Their regular dates might be over forever. Young master, Mr. Lian has arrived. Kuea's beautiful eyes widened. Lian had arrived earlier than usual. He hadn't even changed out of the stained workshop shirt he wore while helping his junior repair equipment during practice. His hand immediately flew to his ear to make sure he hadn't forgotten any bolts or screws. I'm going to take a quick shower. Date or not. Kuea still had to maintain his image as the son of a noble lady and an ambassador. If he had to argue with Lian today, he would at least do it politely. There was no way he would ever hit Lian. If Lian complained to his mother, Kuea didn't even want to imagine the consequences. 10 minutes later, Kuea Karate transformed from an engineering student into new Kuea. A beige top, semi-formal trousers, his light brown hair neatly combed, the image of a refined young master. Just as always, Lian stood in the center of the living room. His back faced Kuea as he looked at the giant Karate family portrait. Broad shoulders, long legs, a perfectly tailored suit, both hands tucked into his pockets. For some reason, seeing him brought relief. At least now Kuea was sure. The man from last night wasn't Lian. Lian's hair was perfectly slicked back, and he was always clean-shaven. Hello, Lian. The calm gaze, the serious expression, the complete absence of a smile. This was the real Lian. Only the scent of his perfume reminded Kuea of the man from the previous night. The fake Lian felt like a secret wish. A version of Lian who was gentle. A version of that man who was actually Lian. What happened to your lips? Kuea instantly pressed his lips together, like a child caught doing something naughty. It's nothing. I accidentally bit them. Let me see. Kuea froze when Lian gently lifted his chin. The older man studied his face carefully before frowning. For a moment, Kuea's heart nearly stopped. A chill ran through his body. Be more careful next time. I don't want new Kuea getting hurt. Okay, why did you come here? To pick you up. Same as always. Kuea almost laughed. How could things possibly return to normal? What exactly was normal to Lian? Going on dates? Pretending everything was fine? Acting as though Lian hadn't clearly said he didn't love him? I think we should cancel today because... Pack your things. If we leave any later, we'll get stuck in traffic. Without waiting for a response, Lian checked his Patek Philippe watch and instructed the maids to pack enough clothes for 3 days. Wait, why do I need to pack? Where are we going? I haven't agreed to go with you. I'm taking you on a date. Where? I don't want to go. I don't want to stay anywhere. We're going to my house. What? Sir, you have a call. Lian's assistant entered and handed him a phone. The brief conversation was obviously work-related. Then Lian left the room. Don't pack my things. I don't want to go. Kuea immediately stopped the maids. Lian couldn't simply decide things like this. If new Kuea doesn't want to pack, don't force him. My closet is already full of clothes he can wear. A pause. Or he can wear nothing. Lian's voice echoed from outside before fading away. He casually dropped a bomb and walked off. What was wrong with him? What do you think, young master? Make him leave. If he refuses, call the police. I'm going to my room. And don't give Lian a duplicate key. Oh dear. Why are you two fighting? I wasn't the one who started it. He did. Kuea paced around his room like a trapped mouse. After a while, everything outside became quiet. Maybe Lian had finally left. Half an hour later, Kuea cautiously peeked through the door. The upstairs corridor was silent, just like always. Since grandfather moved to the family villa in Kuea, Karate Mansion had become very quiet. What a dictator. Humph. I thought you'd be even more shameless. Am I the dictator you're talking about, new Kuea? Kuea spun around. The balcony door stood open. Lian was leaning there with his arms crossed. His suit was slightly wrinkled. His expression looked irritated. How did you get up here? Go away. Who climbs into someone else's house? This isn't someone else's house. It's my fiancé's house. He paused. And I didn't climb. The balcony connects to the library. The mansion had been built in a Thai Western style. Long balconies connected several rooms together, including grandfather's library, which connected directly to Kuea's room. You still can't come into my room. Go home. It's been a long time since I came here. Lian looked around. This isn't only your room, new Kuea. You once promised to share it with me. Lian Wang sat on the edge of the bed. His palms rested on the mattress as his eyes wandered around the room. Years ago, this had been a guest bedroom. After Kuea was born, it became a child's room next to the library. Kuea studied here, did his homework here, practiced Thai here whenever he returned from overseas. And through all those years, Lian Wang had always been there. Who cares about childhood promises? I do. His gaze softened. Have you forgotten everything, new Kuea? I still remember you becoming class president. A smile almost escaped Kuea's lips. He quickly hid it. When he was little, he hated studying Thai. He preferred playing during recess. So he made a condition. If Lian stayed with him, he would study. And Lian actually agreed. Together they practiced writing the alphabet. Lian received many stars for perfect work. Kuea only received 2. His oversized curly handwriting made him sulk for an entire day. What if new Kuea becomes class president? Lian had asked. The class president is smart and takes care of everyone. Will new Kuea take care of me too? Yep. But class presidents have to work harder than everyone else. I'll become the best student in the world. I'll become president of the world. Their childhood memories were full of laughter. Back then, Lian was everything. His playmate, his friend, his favorite person. Young Kuea didn't understand engagement or marriage. He only knew he wanted to stay with Lian forever. He never understood why Lian eventually became so distant. As he looked at Kuea now, Lian remembered another thing. Kuea had always been possessive. Anything that belonged to him was precious. Everyone constantly taught him to share. When Lian asked for snacks, Kuea would hesitate for a long time before giving any away. When Lian wanted to borrow a toy, he had to ask repeatedly. The fastest thing Kuea ever shared was his bedroom. So you can sleep with me. Back then, Kuea simply meant sleeping side by side after playing together. Now, Lian Wang felt entitled to much more. If new Kuea doesn't want to go on a date at my house, I won't force you. Relief instantly appeared on Kuea's face. We can stay here instead. Lian stood. He removed his suit jacket and draped it over a chair, then loosened his tie. Step by step, he approached. Kuea instinctively backed away, until his back hit the door. Before he could escape, Lian planted one hand beside him and blocked the exit. For our first date this week. His deep voice lowered. Would new Kuea prefer the bathroom, the bed, or the balcony? Kuea, what are you trying to do? This isn't funny. Stay away. Kuea's voice trembled. Kuea said he doesn't love me. So why are we dating? I don't want to go on a date with you. I'm breaking off the engagement. It's fine if you want to cancel the engagement. Lian nodded. We can get married immediately instead. Kuea, I've always followed your wishes. Kuea, yes. Kuea, doesn't make any sense. You're the unreasonable one, new Kuea. Lian smiled. I already said we're getting married. I meant it. But you don't love me. I don't want to marry someone who doesn't love me. That's right. His expression remained calm. I don't love you. Kuea stared. Then why had Lian kissed him? Why? Before he could think further, Lian pulled him closer. Kuea pushed against him. It didn't help. Kuea let go. The kiss that followed was long and relentless. Kuea's thoughts scattered. His mind became completely blank. He couldn't take it anymore. Kuea, stop. His voice barely worked. Time out. Time out. Time out. 5. 5. 4. Kuea. Why were his eyes shining like that? He looked thirsty. His gaze remained fixed on Kuea's lips. 3. Don't kiss me. I can't help it. Jillian's voice sounded completely serious. You have to take responsibility. What did I do? I didn't do anything. New Kuea bought me. Huh. And I agreed to be bought. What? When? Kuea blinked. Then slowly remembered. 500 baht. The wallet. The drunken nonsense in the car. His face turned red. I don't remember. 1. MMPH. The moment Kuea finally remembered buying Lian for 500 baht. Another kiss completely destroyed his train of thought. Who sold this version of Lian? Even if the seller offered 10 sacks of rice as a bonus, Kuea still wouldn't buy him. I have many uses for new Kuea to discover. No. I want to return this product. Please take Lian far away from me. Chapter 5. Lian Wang admitted that his actions had been too abrupt and had shocked Kuea Karate. However, if he relaxed too much, he might lose new Kuea. Everything else could wait, except matters concerning new Kuea. As soon as Lian released him, Kuea looked ready to pounce and shake him. His beautiful eyes stared intensely at Lian, his soft lips pressed tightly together, and his cheeks flushed red. So cute. New Kuea had always been adorable. But now, he had changed from a good boy into a troublesome one. Lian reached out and touched his soft cheek, staring at his reflection in Kuea's eyes. Kuea Karate's attention had always been focused on him. Wherever Lian was, when he turned around, new Kuea was always there. Don't act like that in front of me. Hia started it first. Fine. My fault. Hia doesn't feel guilty at all. Hia is just teasing me, but I don't find it funny. And what's with all the kissing? Sometimes you kiss me without permission. What you did wasn't right. The last thing in this world I would ever do is play with your feelings. Lian still couldn't understand what mistake he had made that had disappointed his sweet new Kuea so deeply. Everything Kuea did now made it seem as though he saw Lian as someone else. Lian Wang had become a stranger in Kuea Karate's eyes. What do you want from me? I'm confused. I'm only going to say this once. Okay, I'm listening. You can stay in your house, or you can move into my apartment at the Pentagon. What? No, that's not what I asked. I asked what you wanted, not this. In 27 years, Lian Wang had never fought with Kuea Karate. On the other hand, his porcelain doll fiancé had never looked this irritated before. New Kuea rarely argued and never started fights. The Karate family had truly raised Kuea well. Even his rebellious side was polite. What do you mean, not this? It's just not. That was why Lian was struggling. He had grown up watching his father supervise workers. If the boss wasn't strict, people became difficult to manage. If the boss wasn't firm, people became lazy. Now Lian managed both the Pentagon and the beverage company. If he spoke sweetly all the time and acted like royalty, his businesses would have collapsed long ago. New Kuea could never be like him. Kuea remained innocent and soft as cotton. Lian was fully aware that many nobles looked down on his family's straightforward nature. Even among high society, there were hierarchies. Old noble families preferred associating with other noble families rather than newly wealthy ones. Because of that, Lian Wang had worked hard to become a polite and respectable fiancé. He didn't want people saying that New Kuea was engaged to someone from a poor Chinese family. Even then, it wasn't enough. Countless times, he had discovered noble families trying to persuade Lady Kuelin to cancel the engagement. Many people wanted to marry young Master Karate. Keep dreaming. I already answered your question. We're going to live together. Wasn't that clear enough? Hia? No, that's not right. I'm not leaving this house. Hia can live alone at the Pentagon. It doesn't matter if New Kuea doesn't want to move. I can move here. Hia, I don't want to move, and you can't move here. I reject your proposal. The council didn't reach an agreement. What council? I rejected your proposal too. No agreement was reached. 2 votes against 1. Who's the other vote? Lady Kuelin Kirati. What? Hia has gone crazy. Don't bring my mother into this. What do you take me for? I respect tradition. I always inform our elders before making plans. I'm honest and sincere. If I were a terrible person, do you think I'd still be standing here? Lian Wang smiled at the sight of his fiancée, looking furious enough to bite him. For safety reasons, he wrapped an arm around Kuea's slim waist. When Kuea was a baby, he used to bite everything. 7-year-old Lian had been one of his favorite victims. His ears, hands, shoulders, everything had been bitten. Such a spoiled child. You can't run from me, Kuea. Since I'm a reasonable person, I'll give you 10 minutes to decide. And don't bother calling Aunt Kuelin. She's attending an embassy event. She's busy. He had planned everything. Kuea's tiny nose twitched as he silently cursed Lian. New Kuea was predictable. They hadn't known each other for only a few days. That was why Lian Wang couldn't understand how Kuea had managed to live such a secretive life behind his back, or why Kuea believed Lian would never find out. Your fiancé is very thorough. It didn't matter if Kuea didn't truly know him yet. The distance between Thailand and Europe had created misunderstandings in Kuea's innocent mind. Lian's job was to show him who Lian Wang really was. Beer production was heavily regulated by law, yet Lian had built Lian into one of Thailand's most successful beverage companies. Why couldn't he open his heart completely to Kuea? What made my mother agree? I can't believe she'd let me live under the same roof as you before we're married. Don't lie to me. Of course Lady Kuelin wouldn't simply hand New Kuea over. She cared deeply about propriety. Lian didn't want anyone speaking badly about Kuea. I promised to bring the dowry to your parents in Austria. Hia. Yeah. What am I supposed to do with you? Nothing. I can take care of myself. Moving is easy. I'll never marry you. Never. Give it a chance. I'll keep following you. Hia. Aren't you tired of calling me Hia? I've heard it my entire life. Hia, you idiot. Oh, right. My new Kuea is too polite to call me husband. You can call me darling instead. I don't mind. I'm not your wife. You are my cutie pie. The young man who had been furious instantly turned bright red. Kuea Karate was so embarrassed that he turned away. His cheeks and ears were burning. Lian suspected Kuea had forgotten that he graduated from an international school. English was practically his second language. I'll wait for you downstairs. Come eat with me. You have 10 minutes to tell me where we're staying. Have you gone mad? Was crazy really the rudest word Kuea could use? New Kuea always tried so hard to be a good boy in front of him. He was completely different at Gemini Club. Unable to resist, Lian leaned over and kissed Kuea's cheek. Kuea, if you're late, I'll come back and kiss your cheek again. If you still refuse, I'll kiss your lips. If you're still stubborn, then I'll have to try harder. Kuea shoved him toward the door before he could say anything else. The moment the door slammed shut, Lian Wang smiled and headed downstairs. If Kuea had peeked outside, he would have heard him humming a Polish indie rock song. It wasn't popular. Only fans of that style of music would recognize it. And it happened to be the same song Kieran had covered on their YouTube channel. Kuea Karate lay on his bed in a daze. He stared at the ceiling, grabbed a pillow, buried his face in it, and screamed. A noble descendant shouldn't scream. It wasn't proper. The housemaids might hear. Sometimes Kuea wanted to reward himself for his outstanding performance as a young master, an ambassador's son, and Lian Wang's fiancé. He tried so hard to be perfect. He wanted to escape to the secret house. But Lian was downstairs. And Lian seemed completely serious about living together. Why was everything different from what Kuea had imagined? If Lian didn't love him, shouldn't they separate? Then Lian would be free to do whatever he wanted. There would be no reason to stay tied to Kuea. In a Thai drama, they would have ended the engagement, signed some agreement, and gone their separate ways. Kuea would become the obsessive ex-fiancé plotting revenge. Everything would proceed according to plan. Instead, Lian wanted to marry him. Ridiculous. Kuea sighed and sat up. Should he just run away? There was no reason to stay here. Lian could do whatever he wanted. The worst part was that he'd even dragged Kuea's mother into this. What am I supposed to do, Kuea? If he moved in with Lian, his entire secret life would be exposed. He wouldn't be able to ride as Kieran, play drums at Jay's club, or make videos for his YouTube channel. Next year he would begin his internship. No, Lian can't stay here. Lian probably hadn't realized that Kuea's room looked almost lifeless. No books, no notebooks, no laptop, nothing that belonged to a university student. Everything important was hidden in the secret house. Did he really have to move into the Pentagon? What the hell? When Kuea had wanted to accompany Lian to work, he had been told he was too young. Now suddenly Lian wanted them living together. The man was possessed. I promised to bring the dowry to your parents in Austria. The moment Kuea remembered those words, his heart jumped. If Lian had said them a week ago, when Kuea had still been hopelessly in love with him, forget the secret house. Kuea would have moved into the Pentagon immediately. He would have chosen a wedding date. He would have selected a bridal boutique. He had dreamed about those things for years. But now it was too late. He would never marry Lian. If Lian wanted a spouse, he could find someone else. That was enough for Kuea. In less than 10 minutes, Lian would come upstairs and kiss his cheek. His lips. Ugh. What the hell had happened to the cold and distant Lian Wang? Why had his perfect image completely collapsed? Kuea pulled at his hair until it became a tangled mess. Running away wasn't possible. Staying wasn't appealing either. Maybe he could agree to move into the Pentagon and leave later. If he stayed out late, joined volunteer camps, attended campus activities, worked on group projects, or spent time elsewhere, Lian wouldn't be able to stop him. For now, Kuea couldn't win against Lian's stubbornness. The possessed version of Lian was surprisingly good at provoking him. He would give in today. There would be other opportunities later. The most important goal remained the same. Break off the engagement. Cancel the wedding. And if that failed, he would make the marriage a nightmare. His lips twitched as he thought so hard that his head hurt. Being Lian's good fiancé had never been this difficult. Lian Wang was terrifying enough on his own. His entire social circle looked like disguised mafia bosses. Especially his best friend. Phiac Chat Deka Chun. The Chun family was Thailand's most famous European automobile distributor. They owned dealerships, service centers, factories, and even a racing circuit that had once hosted Formula One events. One of the circuit's major sponsors had been Lian Beverages. Kuea himself had purchased his motorcycle through a Chun family dealership. Because Lian always seemed so impressive, Kuea had always been proud to stand beside him. He imagined them as the perfect drama couple, the tough man and his fragile partner. Cold on the outside, soft on the inside. A happy ending. Not a single drama had ever warned him that the mafia-style hero might suddenly lose his mind. Think, Kuea. There has to be a way out. Think carefully. Then suddenly, he realized something. If Lian could use his mother against him, then Kuea could fight back too. The obedient Kuea Karate was dead, along with his Annabelle doll image. I'm moving to the Pentagon with Hia. Lian Wang stared calmly at Kuea. Inside, however, he was highly amused. Earlier, Kuea had been completely against the idea. What was he planning now? But I have one condition. For my own peace of mind. I'm listening. If people find out we're living together before marriage, they'll gossip. They'll say I'm cheap. That would embarrass my grandfather, my father, and my mother. Hia understands, right? So Kuea had come prepared. Fine. What do you want? I want my own bedroom. If I don't allow Hia inside, then Hia can't enter. We'll respect boundaries. Even if the room is inside your house, it's still my room. If I lock the door, don't come in. And if Hia barges in or does anything inappropriate, I'll return home and tell my mother and Mr. and Mrs. Wang that you mistreated me. As expected of an ambassador's son, Lian Wang almost applauded. In only 10 minutes, New Kuea had already drafted terms and conditions. Remarkable. Agreed. Also, living at the Pentagon affects my reputation. I need a guarantee. Go ahead. If I move into the Pentagon, I should be listed as a co-owner. Add my name to the property and make me one of the executives. The land alone was worth hundreds of millions of baht. Clearly, Kuea was planning to gain leverage. It's not that simple. The Pentagon isn't something I can hand over casually. It's a business. If you bankrupt it, how am I supposed to pay my employees? Can you guarantee that you can manage it? I'm not being emotional. I just want ownership. Hia can continue managing everything. Kuea immediately lost confidence after hearing the explanation. Lian knew that words alone weren't enough. Kuea needed to understand through experience. I'll give you the Pentagon, if you can love it as much as I do. I've spent years building it. I've sacrificed blood, sweat, and tears for it. I don't want it ruined. I know. I just want some reassurance before moving in. Then let's make a deal. The Pentagon can be entirely yours. I'll work for you as your employee. You can decide my salary. But you said you wouldn't give it to me. That's right. I won't give it to you. Then, I'll give it to you as a dowry. No. I don't want it. Don't reject it so quickly. The promotion includes land worth hundreds of millions, shares in my businesses, my house, my cars, anything you want. Take everything. He paused. There's only one condition. What? You get me too. I don't want any of it. Really? You can't change your mind later. I don't want it. I just want my own room. I don't want to talk to Hia anymore. I want to eat. Lian Wang finally ended the discussion and instructed the staff to serve dinner. While they ate, he observed his fiancé. Kuea chewed aggressively, his cheeks puffed out with irritation. Clearly, he was still letting emotions guide him. Lian saw Kuea's problems as their shared problems. But Kuea separated everything into categories. His own problems, Lian's problems, and their problems together. In reality, all of them overlapped. New Kuea simply refused to let Lian into that space. Lian didn't blame him. Kuea was only 20 years old. The 7-year age gap created different perspectives. New Kuea couldn't fully understand him, and Lian couldn't always think like someone so much younger. Marriage wasn't about two separate lives existing side by side. The goal was simple: to live together. That was why Lian Wang didn't yet love Kuea Karate in the way lovers loved each other. But he believed he could, and he was determined to do so. Chapter 6. Kuea Karate only had 3 days left in the secret house. Kuea had asked for 1 week to pack, but as Lian said, if Kuea had too much stuff, she could send people to help him pack, and everything would be finished in a single day. In the end, he was given 3 days. The last 3 days before moving to the Pentagon. The Pentagon, a luxurious nightclub he had only ever seen in photos and advertisements. What was Lian's empire really like? The things he needed to pack weren't many. Kuea would only bring a few things. Young Master Kuea Karate's clothes, textbooks, and stationery. His personal life was the real problem. He had to leave Lin at the secret house, and come back to play his 2 drum sets from time to time. And what about Jay's nightclub? How could he ever show up there again? His head hurt. So that's being a good boy. I'll take care of it. Kondayo felt sorry for his best friend. He knew Kuea had prepared himself for this day ever since becoming engaged to Lian. The day he would leave Lin, his drums, and everything he loved behind in order to become Lian's lover. Yet in less than a week, Lian Wang had made his move in every possible way. Kuea barely had time to process it, be surprised, or prepare himself. Everything had happened so fast. Well, thanks, Dio. Kondayo didn't know how to ride a superbike, but he could at least come by occasionally to start the engine so it wouldn't deteriorate too quickly. He could also clean the house from time to time. We're friends. Don't worry, okay? Once you get used to living with him, you'll still be able to come here. Dio, I know you don't like talking about this, but is it hard living with Hie? Well, it's difficult. Hie isn't as nice as Lian. At least Lian doesn't hate you the way Hie hates me. But I'm used to it. I just endure it and let time pass. Yeah, I'll make the most of these 3 days. Kuea lowered his head. I'm just sad, Dio. I've lived here for more than a year. Here, I can just be myself. I mean, how did time pass so quickly? Now it's over. I'll end up living with Lian. He forced out a laugh. This was supposed to be my dream. But if Lian loved me, I'd feel a lot better. Hey, Kondayo couldn't find the right words to comfort his best friend. He couldn't understand Lian's actions either. If Lian didn't love Kuea, then why did he want them to live together? What is Lian thinking? Forget him. I can't just sit around waiting. I have to prepare myself. Kuea clenched his fists. I won't let him control me. Damn it, he's not my husband. He can't control what I do. Kuea would enjoy these 3 days to the fullest. Then he would make plans to fight Lian. After moving into the Pentagon, no matter how grand it was, no matter how much of a paradise Lian claimed it to be, Kuea would push Lian's patience to the limit until the man got annoyed and kicked him out. Kuea karate yawned during English class. It was a required subject for his major, and according to Kuea, it was ridiculously easy after spending so many years studying in England. After spinning his pen around countless times, his beautiful eyes slowly drooped. Then his forehead hit the desk. Professor, Kuea fell asleep. Damn it, we can't accept this. Our friend is lazy. Pathetic. Damn it. None of them had been paying attention to the lesson either. They had all been playing on their phones under the table. He had only daydreamed for a moment, and his friends immediately sold him out. No one in this department could be trusted. Kuea Karate, please come forward and answer a question. Wake your friends up while you're at it. Damn it, you guys really set me up. Professor, Kuea cursed at us. We request new seats. We don't want to become rude like him. Let us sit with Ning. We need advice about our wisdom teeth. Or romance advice. We don't know the difference anymore. Kuea, my friend, tell him we passed by her bench. Get lost. Glowering at his friends, Kuea walked to the front of the room. This was a compulsory course, which meant automotive engineering students shared the class with dentistry students. It was embarrassing. Kuea likes Ning. Shut up, damn it. Enough, kids. You're automotive engineering students. Stop teasing the dentistry students. Those girls aren't interested in you. You can't even be bothered to comb your hair. The professor pointed toward him. Kuea Karate, answer the question. From the outside, Kuea didn't seem like he belonged in engineering at all. He was polite, neatly groomed, elegant, and carried a prestigious family name. But anyone who looked closely would quickly realize he was one of the gang. None of his friends came from elite families because nobody in his social circle had chosen automotive engineering. With them, Kuea didn't need to wear a mask. He could freely become one of the boys. They drank beer, hung out at bars and cafes, flirted with girls, played football after class, ate roast pork in dormitories, and occasionally visited clubs near campus. Nobody cared about his upper-class status. Nobody tried to befriend him for connections. It was wonderful. Come on, Kuea. When Kuea Karate wasn't Lian Wang's fiancé, he was just another university student spending time with friends and playing football on the field beside the department building. The spectator stands were already occupied by groups of girls. Where's my shirt? In Tun's backpack. The blue one. Hurry up. Okay. Kuea removed his workshop shirt and slung it over his shoulder. He searched through his friend's backpack, but found nothing. Kuea always left his football uniform with a friend whose family owned a laundry business. The entire gang did the same. I can't find it. Damn it, where's my jersey? Oh, I forgot. I didn't bring it. Sorry, the backpack owner shouted. Kuea immediately pinned him down. Not seriously. Just enough. So what am I supposed to wear? Take your shirt off. And Kuea almost cursed. Instead, he pulled on a t-shirt hanging over his shoulder. The thought of going home in a sweat-soaked shirt bothered him. Dirty. He hated it. Come on. One more minute. No. It's boiling. I'm taking a shower. Kuea kicked the ball so hard that one of his shoes flew off. We have to celebrate this. Let's go eat roast pork. His friends teased him endlessly. He had forgotten to tie his shoelaces properly, and while dribbling the ball, he miskicked and launched his shoe toward the sidelines. So Hut, take him with us. It's hard taking care of him. Kuea could never win against the entire gang. His sweat-soaked shirt still clung to his body as they practically dragged him into a roast pork buffet near campus. Since resistance was futile, he grabbed a bottle of water from a friend and splashed his face and hands clean. Now he was completely soaked. Kuea, do you want a towel? Although the gang was mostly made up of troublemakers, there were exceptions. Kuea Karate was one. Another was Sin. Sin Samer had grown up in a temple despite not being an orphan. His parents divorced when he was 1.5 years old. After his mother died, he lived with his father at the temple and remained there ever since. His dream had been to become an abbot. Eventually, he discovered that religious politics were even harsher than normal life and gave up on the idea. Okay, thanks. Ouch. Why are you touching my hair? I'm helping dry it. No need. I can do it myself. You'll catch a cold if you're careless. Let me help. Don't confuse my head with an alms bowl scene. The alms bowl isn't as smooth as your head. Your head is smooth because there are no tangled thoughts inside. Go back to your temple. Was this guy really a temple boy? He was unbelievably annoying. The roast pork restaurant wasn't fancy at all. 139 baht per person. The tables wobbled and stacks of paper were stuffed under the legs. Give me pork. Give me pork. Your ribs are still attached. Grill it yourself, you bastard. Didn't your family teach you how? No. They taught me to let other people grill while I wait and eat. My family is rich. Are you rich or useless? Share some of your luck, and I'll grill pork for you for the rest of your life. You dragged me here. You're responsible. Damn, it's hot. Take your shirt off and eat. Complaining won't lower the temperature. At first, all 12 young men sat fully clothed around the table. Then the heat destroyed their dignity. Most of them ended up shirtless with their shirts hanging over their shoulders. Kuea merely rolled up his sleeves. Not a great idea. Even Sin is half naked. If a future monk isn't embarrassed, why are you? Kuea wasn't used to eating without a shirt. Eventually, the heat won. He draped his shirt over his shoulder and reached across the table to steal pork from his friends. If he was slow, there would be nothing left. The same went for vegetables. Everything went straight into his mouth. Your hair color makes your skin look even fairer. Are you trying to glow? Yes. I eat neon lights. You've been weird lately. Distracted. Sleep deprived. His friend squinted. Heartbroken? Did you break up with your rich boyfriend? A few of them knew Kuea was engaged to a man. Someone completely outside their world. Lian Wang. The mysterious fiancé who had never once appeared before them. Not surprising, considering Lian Wang belonged to a level they couldn't reach. A famous family. A powerful company. Meanwhile, Kuea Karate behaved nothing like someone from an elite family. He looked gentle. In reality, he was a menace. Yeah, we broke up. Kuea shrugged. I got hurt. Then I recovered. Why didn't you tell us? We love drinking. How could you get drunk alone? We could have made it much worse. The first round is never enough. We would have kept drinking until your money ran out. Thanks. You guys really are my friends. Kuea laughed. Maybe this wasn't such a bad thing. At least he wasn't drowning in sadness anymore. Now he was mostly angry. He wanted to punch his fiancée 10 times. How did it happen? Weren't you supposed to marry him after graduation? His friend sighed dramatically. There goes my chance to be a bridesmaid. I've been waiting for the biggest wedding in the country. Just eat roast pork. The wedding isn't happening anytime soon. All you can eat is only 139 baht. Don't drink too much cola. That's not included. Kuea laughed again. After all the chaos, the wound seemed to have become a scar. It didn't hurt like before. He doesn't love me. Kuea pointed at himself. I think I'm pretty cute. Everyone burst out laughing. The fact that he could joke about it meant he was getting better. Laughing was easier than crying. Crying was exhausting. Better to laugh at his own stupidity. You're not what you seem. During freshman year, I was shocked someone as refined as you ended up in our class. You looked innocent. I thought you were in the wrong department. Aren't you surprised by me now? No. I'm more surprised by seeing. The speaker pointed at the temple boy. When we first met, he asked if I'd ever seen a ghost. For the sake of my father's spirit, I almost started praying. My father isn't dead. He's the temple head. Here, have some pork for your empty bowl. Kuea nearly choked from laughing. Scene always ruined everyone's jokes. But Kuea was the real surprise. Your friend Kondaya is polite. He studies business administration. You should have been there with him. The friend pointed accusingly. What is this? I thought you were cute. Turns out you're an asshole. I'm not cute. No. I'm upset because my pork disappeared. He pointed around wildly. I grilled all of it. Who stole it? Tun, spit it out. I saw you. I'm a god. Almighty God. That's right. Damn it. Friends who understood your jokes were hard to find. Kuea knew that. I was even more shocked when the professor made us lab partners. I thought I'd end up doing all the work alone. Then this guy grabbed a crowbar and dismantled a steel frame in one go. And when he kicked that tire, every time he gets stressed, he kicks tires. I was terrified he'd kick me in the stomach and send my organs flying. Are you comforting me or insulting me? Insulting you. The teasing didn't stop. One after another, they brought up stories about Kuea. The funniest one was the campus prince contest. Everyone burst out laughing. Kuea refused to enter even though he was obviously the most handsome. We threatened him. He threatened to beat us up. In the end, Scene became our candidate. We thought he'd recite prayers during the talent show. But Scene got diarrhea on the big day. So Joy took his place. They all howled. Standing next to those actors from mass communication, he looked like a chubby puppy beside angels. Kuea remembered it vividly. With no talent at all, he sang the department anthem and even got the lyrics wrong. The seniors punished him afterward. What a disaster. Hey, I still won most popular. Joy slammed the table. I spent 50,000 baht on flowers voting for you. Kuea grinned. Seeing his friends suffer on stage had been so painful that he bought flowers to save the department's dignity. Then he ended up doing punishment push-ups alongside Joy afterward. You bastards. My face was posted all over campus. People bullied me online. Joy pointed at Kuea. They kept asking why Kuea wasn't the contestant instead. Give me some pork. I'm emotionally wounded. You are not entering the department prince contest. Kuea pointed at everyone. You are not entering the college prince contest. You are not representing the campus. You are not doing anything involving photographs. The real reason, of course, was that Kuea didn't want to attract Lian's attention. If I entered with this handsome face, none of you would stand a chance. Joy snorted. I got a girlfriend from that contest. Girls like rough men. I can't tell if you're rough or just dirty. So what are you going to do about your boyfriend? A friend leaned forward. Want a new girlfriend? I know plenty of girls from other faculties. We'll make a Facebook post. Engineering student Kuea is single. The line will stretch all the way to Chiang Mai. A line of girls interested in Kuea? No. A line of debt collectors, idiot. Everyone laughed. That's why I'm inactive on Facebook. If they find my location, they'll come after me. Kuea laughed harder than he had in days. Being with his friends was fun. He could say whatever he wanted. Laugh loudly. Eat roast pork. Ever since dating Lian, the man had never taken him to a buffet. Instead, Lian always dragged him to expensive restaurants serving traditional Chinese dishes, as if afraid Kuea would forget his Chinese ancestry. And every single time, the menu was the same. Steamed fish with soy sauce, braised shark fin, steamed prawns with fresh milk, Maharaja noodles, goose leg in a clay pot. He was sick of it. He needed pork, okay? Chapter 7. Kuea Karate was very sure now that being new Kuea was exhausting. He had first realized it when he was 14 years old. For a long time, he had felt suffocated by the status of being the descendant of a noble family with a well-known surname. Whenever he returned to Thailand for vacation with Lady Kuelan, he had to attend elite social events with his mother. Because both his parents held respected positions in society, everyone wanted to befriend the Karate family, the ambassador's family. Kuea was tired of maintaining a gentle smile, laughing politely, and speaking with perfect manners while listening to the sweet lies of middle-aged socialites. The only thing that calmed him was Lian. Lian always accompanied him. The engagement between Kuea Karate and Lian Wang was no secret. As fiancés, they attended family gatherings and social events together, including occasions involving elders from both families. The difference between Lian and Kuea was that Lian had his own social circle, while Kuea did not. Whenever they attended an event, Lian's friends would gather around him and pull him away into their conversations. Kuea was only a boy 7 years younger than Lian. He could never fit into that circle, so he remained beside his mother, following her from one group of guests to another. All he could do was watch Lian from afar. No matter what happened, Kuea's eyes always found Lian, and whenever Lian happened to look back and meet his gaze, Kuea would receive a smile from that usually expressionless face. A smile that felt like it belonged only to him. Lian's group of friends had an unofficial nickname, the Mafia disguised as elites. Among them, Lian's closest friend was Fiac Chat Dekachun. The Chen family made their fortune in the automobile business. They were Thailand's most famous distributor of European cars and also owned profitable racing circuit businesses. From the perspective of noble families, however, that background could sometimes become a problem. Some aristocratic families looked down on newly wealthy families, even those that had spent generations building their fortunes. The Kurati family was different. Their prosperity dated back to previous royal eras. Many noble families had tried persuading Lady Kuelin to break off Kuea's engagement to Lian. There were sons of generals, nephews of council members, and descendants of royal bloodlines interested in Kuea. Yet Lady Kuelin always smiled politely and refused. She told Kuea that the Wang family was the best choice because they were sincere. He loves you, new Kuea. Both Lian and his family are sincere with you. I won't entrust your happiness to someone simply because of a famous name or a questionable noble lineage. Someday, when your father and I are gone, at least Lian will take care of my new Kuea forever. I hate it when people look down on him. How lucky Lian is to have new Kuea protecting him. His mother had teased him. Back then, Kuea was only 14 years old. He had tried to deny it, but his stammering voice gave him away completely. His mother could only laugh. We can't control our feelings, new Kuea. Throw away the bad feelings and keep the good ones, okay? Kuea had agreed. His mother was a strong woman. Despite her soft and delicate appearance, she fought gently but relentlessly for what she wanted. If she hadn't been that way, she would never have become president of the Ambassadors' Wives Association or managed countless public activities. Believe me, baby, Lian is the best. I think Lian is the best person in the world, too. If Kuea could go back in time, he would punch that foolish, overly optimistic version of himself. Kuea sighed into his glass of beer. On the second day of his countdown, he decided to quit Jay's nightclub. Jay ignored his resignation completely and only paid attention after hearing that Kuea was moving into the Pentagon. How long are you planning to keep pretending to be someone else, brat? I don't know. Maybe Lian will break off the engagement after making you move into his place? I doubt it. Honestly, it looks more like you two are getting married soon. Kuea pursed his lips and looked away. Even Khan Dia had said the same thing. Lian wouldn't let him go that easily. But they had to break up eventually, didn't they? Why couldn't they? He didn't want to marry Lian anymore. Take care of yourself at the Pentagon. One day some secret girlfriend of Lian Wang might show up like in those soap operas. Let her come. I can handle it. Oh, planning to destroy everything. I'll crush them all and make them forget about Lian. Gemini Miller whistled. The confidence of an aristocratic young master was certainly impressive. Still, he couldn't argue with Kuea's confidence. The boy was undeniably handsome. Plenty of girls flirted with him at the nightclub. Some men did too. Yet the person sitting in front of him remained absurdly loyal to the owner of the Pentagon. How long have you been playing the role of the good boy? Maybe more than a year. Since I came back to Thailand. Ever thought that maybe he already knows? No. Kuea shook his head immediately. If Lian knew, he would have scolded me already. My mother would have flown back and strangled me. Lian would never let me live like this. What's wrong with living like this? What's wrong with riding superbikes and playing drums? Nothing's wrong with it. But Lian is the deputy CEO of a company. He wouldn't like his fiancé playing drums in a nightclub. It's inappropriate. Yeah. Gemini scratched his head and decided not to continue. He had wanted to ask whether Kuea still knew nothing after being carried home drunk that night. But why had the fiancé made everything so complicated? Rich people really had too much free time. In any case, it wasn't his business. Love was a personal matter. The people involved had to solve it themselves. Outsiders could interfere all they wanted, but if the couple got back together afterward, the outsiders would simply become spectators. Or witnesses. Standing on the rooftop of Jay's club, Kuea sank into old memories. Eventually, his eyes settled on the Pentagon, the most luxurious entertainment complex in the Ekamithongler district. His future home. He had survived for an entire year already. Maybe he could hold out a little longer. A faint smile curved his lips. Living as both New Kuea and Kuea Karate had been difficult, but it had also been fun. There were people supporting him. First was Kondaya. Second was the butler of the Karate mansion, who helped keep his secrets from his mother. And finally, his biggest sponsor, the person who funded him, bought drums for him, and shipped them to Thailand. His passionate father, the handsome ambassador. The man looked gentle and dignified in public, but behind Lady Kuelin's back he sent daily messages to his only son about superbikes. On the other hand, Lady Kuelin adored Lian. His father, meanwhile, didn't want Kuea marrying him at all. Unfortunately, Lady Kuelin always won. His father had only one life principle: never argue with his wife. 1 year earlier, "Young master, hurry, help me." Kuea Karate, a second-year automotive engineering student, rushed into the bathroom while the butler prepared a suit. "Don't forget to clean your ears, young master." The butler had practically become Kuea's accomplice. He had raised Kuea since infancy. If necessary, he would even help clean the grease marks that somehow ended up behind Kuea's ears. The young master had a habit of tucking bolts, nuts, and screws everywhere while working. The butler constantly worried Lian would discover it one day. "Done. My clothes, please." After a quick shower, Kuea hurriedly dressed. The butler grabbed a towel and began drying his hair. Even though he had to stand on tiptoe now, the young master was no longer a child. "Dry your hair first, or you'll get sick." "We don't have time." "Young master, Lian hasn't arrived yet." "Sit down." The butler continued drying his hair. "And let me check your ears." Eventually, the messy engineering student transformed into the perfect new Kuea. His hair was neatly combed. He wore a beige shirt, white trousers, brown leather shoes, and a matching vest. "Do I look handsome?" "Very handsome. The most handsome, young master." Kuea flashed a sweet smile. Outside, his fiancée stood beside a black car waiting to open the door for him. Lian was always punctual. Kuea hurried over. "Good evening, Lian. Are you tired?" His soft hand rested lightly against Lian's arm. Every movement was elegant and refined, exactly as expected of a noble family's son. Internally, however, Kuea sighed in relief. If Lian had arrived 10 minutes earlier, he would have seen Kuea fresh out of the shower while the butler was still drying his hair. "Not at all. Let's go." "Thank you." Kuea smiled sweetly before getting into the car. Ever since returning from Europe, Fridays had become their official date nights. Every date followed a similar pattern: punctuality, romance, soft music, Chinese food, and steamed fish with soy sauce. That was Lian's favorite. Today, however, was different. Instead of a Chinese restaurant, Lian had reserved a private dinner aboard a cruise ship sailing along the Chao Phraya River. Kuea sat holding a glass of expensive wine while chatting softly. He pretended to be touched by the effort. He pretended to be surprised when a violinist performed beside their table. The violinist played several notes incorrectly. Kuea almost wanted to snatch the violin away and do it himself. Instead, he smiled. He even asked Lian to take a picture together at the bow of the ship with the Asiatique Ferris wheel glowing behind them. The most stressful moment came when the cruise passed near the area of his secret house. Thankfully, Lian seemed unaware. You really didn't have to go this far." Kuea offered a perfectly trained smile. Being the son of a noblewoman and an ambassador had taught him that expression from childhood. Tonight, he would undoubtedly score perfect marks for appearing sweet, innocent, and fragile. "It's fine. Your birthday is coming soon, and I may be busy then." This year's birthday fell on a Wednesday. Coincidentally, Lian would be visiting breweries in another province that day. His schedule was always meticulously planned. Kuea never minded. As long as Lian remained reachable, that was enough. That's okay. I'm already happy that you brought me here today. He smiled. Thank you. I'm the happiest person in the world. Kuea didn't dislike what Lian did for him. It simply wasn't his style. Everything felt overly romantic. Too scripted. Lian Wang approached dating like a man following instructions from an online guide titled Perfect Romantic Date. Still, Kuea appreciated the effort. When he was supposed to blush, he blushed. When he was supposed to be happy, he acted happy. When he was supposed to laugh, he laughed. Because Lian had tried, even if the results were awkward, and because Lian never did those things for anyone else. That made Kuea believe he was special. Back then, Kuea believed they loved each other, that they were simply learning how to make their relationship work, and someday, they would become completely honest with each other. That was enough. Happy birthday, new Kuea. Lian rarely expressed wishes or hopes. His greetings always followed the same formula. Happy New Year, new Kuea. Happy Valentine's Day, new Kuea. Happy Songkran, new Kuea. If every holiday counted, then eventually there would be. Happy Teacher's Day, new Kuea. Happy Vesak Day, new Kuea. Happy Buddhist Lent, new Kuea. Happy Labor Day, new Kuea. And so on until the end of the year. Thank you. Then, can I open it now? Lian smiled. Only slightly. But it was still a smile. Kuea watched his face closely. For years, he had worried that Lian's naturally stern expression meant he wasn't feeling well. Fortunately, that wasn't the case. Otherwise, Kuea would have ordered the captain to stop the ship immediately. Wah! His smile froze. What the hell was this doll called? It was from an animated movie. The kind of movie that put him to sleep every time he watched it. Kondia had complained repeatedly that watching it with him was a waste of money. Think harder. I'm not sure whether you'll like it. I love it. It's adorable. I watched this movie with my friend. Where did you find such a huge one? Oh no. What was your name again, dragon? Tell me. Maintaining his smile, Kuea turned the doll around. Finally, he found the tag. How to Train Your Dragon. Toothless. He almost cried in relief. Thank you, Hia. He really doesn't have any teeth. Toothless, wow. Fortunately, Lian hadn't removed the tag. Kuea wasn't particularly fond of dolls. He had owned countless ones during childhood, but after returning to Thailand, he had donated nearly all of them. Even so, there was no way he could donate a gift from Lian. Throwing it away was even more impossible. That was why Toothless eventually ended up in the drum studio at his secret house. The black dragon matched the black hoodie he always wore in his YouTube videos. Then Valentine's Day arrived. This time, Lian appeared with another dragon. A white one. Fortunately, Kuea had done his homework. He had forced himself through the entire animated series, even though he kept falling asleep and restarting from the beginning. At least he remembered the names now, both in Thai and in English. Toothless and the Light Fury. Kuea smiled. They're a couple, just like us. Yeah, sounds sweet. Inside, Kuea felt like throwing up. Chapter 8. The drum cover of this year's blockbuster soundtrack reverberated through the studio. In front of the drum kit imported from Europe stood expensive cameras and high-spec laptops used for recording. The drummer, wearing a hoodie and headphones, moved his wrists to the rhythm before twirling the drumsticks between his long fingers. The black and white dragon dolls sat side by side behind him. When the final beat echoed through the room, Kuea Karate let the recording continue a little longer so he could add his channel logo at the end of the clip. Then he removed his hood. The slender young man stood up and placed the drumsticks on a nearby shelf. It held drumsticks of various brands and colors, his personal collection. Each pair carried memories of a city or country where he had performed, most of them in Europe. Kuea often bought several pairs at once in case one broke, always choosing the ones that fit perfectly in his hands. He recorded, saved the files, and uploaded them to the cloud. The sound engineer in Europe would take care of the rest. The man worked for a major British music company. Kuea used to edit all his videos and audio by himself until the engineer contacted him and promised to improve the quality of his work. Since then, they had worked together regularly. Apart from covering songs with his drumming, Kuea occasionally accepted offers to compose music for fashion shows, commercial events, and even Formula One soundtracks in Northern Europe. Even if only a small portion of his work was used, it was still his creation. Seeing the name Kieran in the soundtrack credits always felt incredible. He had flown there to watch the race before returning to Thailand. Thinking about it now, he had sacrificed a lot to be with Lian, and it had been a complete waste of time, energy, and opportunity. His heart ached. Should I go back to Europe? Dragging himself to the sofa in the middle of the house, he dropped onto it and stared blankly at the ceiling. He had already moved his belongings back to the Karate mansion because Lian would pick him up there before bringing him to the Pentagon. Kuea raised one hand and examined his slightly rough palm, covered with calluses from drumming and working on his superbike. Fortunately, Lian had never touched his hands. Well, that man rarely touched Kuea at all. Many people viewed calloused hands as something unattractive. For Kuea, they were a source of pride. He had poured countless hours into building the Kirin channel. He had also slowly learned how to modify Lian himself. And he had been patient. Far too patient. Patient with Lian. When a patient person finally grew tired of waiting, they were often labeled the bad one. Could he leave Lian? Of course he could. One phone call from his father and Kuea Karate would abandon everything and follow his parents back to Austria. But that would be running away. If he ran, questions would follow him everywhere. Why did he leave? What happened? People would wonder. His mother, Mr. and Mrs. Wang, Kondaya, his university friends, even the people who had always supported him. No, he would face it. Everything had become too much. The battle with Lian had begun. In the end, one of them would win. There was a wall standing between them, but he had to try. Who knew? Maybe he could defeat Lian with a decisive blow. Lian Wang smirked as he looked at his fiancé, carrying a large suitcase, while clutching Toothless and Light Fury in his arms. Lian had no interest in animation. He knew nothing about heroic dragon stories. He had searched for gifts related to Kirin, but found nothing suitable. After all, a sacred mythical creature was not exactly something you turn into a cute birthday present. The two dragons had been the closest option. Kuea loved animation, especially this series, which he had watched with Kondaya. Lian remembered every excited explanation Kuea had shared over the phone. New Kuea's world was very different from his own. There were many youthful interests he struggled to understand. One thing he had almost failed to recognize was that the same dragon characters appeared on the Kirin channel. Anything else? Lian asked. No, that's everything. Lian gave New Kuea time to say goodbye to the maids at the Karate mansion. He also reminded them to contact his secretary or the Wang family's butler if anything important happened. They were even free to visit Kuea at the Pentagon whenever they wished. Thank you, Mr. Lian, one of the maids said. You're welcome. The people around the Karate family are also part of the Wang family's circle. The owners of the mansion rarely stayed there. For quite some time, Lian had been the one quietly looking after the house. And because New Kuea was seldom home, he had never realized that Lian's people routinely guarded the mansion. That was why Lian knew something very important. His fiancé was almost never home. New Kuea believed he was excellent at keeping secrets. In reality, how could a servant possibly keep Kuea's secrets forever? They were servants, not undercover FBI agents. Kuea moved to the Pentagon. Or rather, he moved near it. Kuea Karate had assumed Lian Wang lived on the top floor of the Pentagon's exclusive club. He was wrong. Lian actually lived in the office building behind the Pentagon. During the day, it functioned as the company's administrative headquarters. His private apartment occupied the third floor. From there, the Pentagon itself was invisible because Lian had built a 3-story wall between the properties. The office building and the Pentagon shared the same entrance, but separate roads led to each area. Only people with employee IDs or authorized access stickers could enter during working hours. The building itself was medium-sized, half glass and half concrete, resembling a luxury furniture showroom in Thonglor. A separate parking area sat beside the tall wall. On the other side was a swimming pool large enough for several laps. The apartment was accessible through the same staircase used for the office floors, though a black wooden door secured by a fingerprint scanner separated the private area. After climbing to the top floor, Kuea found himself thoroughly impressed. This was paradise. If Kuea ever wanted an apartment of his own, this was exactly what he would choose. Lian's residence was designed in a modern loft style, filled with deep black tones and raw concrete. One wall consisted entirely of glass overlooking the pool. The space was simple, rectangular, and remarkably efficient. The moment he entered, he saw a living room dominated by a large L-shaped sofa, facing a home theater system. Shelves filled with CDs lined one side of the room. This section was slightly messy, proof that Lian spent considerable time there. A large black shelving unit divided the space without using walls. Through the open cubes, Kuea could see Lian's workspace. Beside it stood a tall counter with 2 black chairs and a hanging wineglass rack. Beyond that were the kitchen and dining area. 2 doors stood side by side in the far corner. Everything flowed naturally from one section to another. It was incredible. The raw concrete, the dark color palette, the open layout. Kuea loved every detail. Instead of dividing rooms with walls, Lian used shelves and open spaces. The design was unbelievably cool. This was his dream home. If only there were a drum studio here. And a place to park Qilin right in the middle of the apartment. Perfect. Your room is on the right. Mine is on the left, Lian said. I have a meeting. Feel free to look around, new Kuea. We'll register your fingerprint when I get back. If you need anything, tell the staff downstairs. Don't let the door close behind you when you leave. It locks automatically, and you won't be able to get back in. Okay. If there's anything else, we'll deal with it later. I have to go. Okay. Still hugging the 2 dragons, Kuea watched Lian leave. The door closed behind him. Immediately, Kuea tossed the dolls onto the sofa and began exploring. Good grief. Lian's taste was amazing. The frustration he had carried all morning vanished instantly. Most importantly, he loved the bedroom. A king-sized black bed sat beneath warm orange lighting. An open wardrobe held rows of hangers and neatly organized drawers. A full-length mirror stood beside it. The room contained very little furniture, yet everything perfectly matched the tough, masculine atmosphere. Posters of classic bands decorated the walls above the bed. Kuea had expected elephant tusks, Chinese furniture, and traditional decorations like those at the Wang family home. Instead, this place was the complete opposite. The only Chinese-style items were a pair of gold lucky bracelets and an expensive tea set. Even the utensils were black. Behind Lian's desk stood a floor-to-ceiling wine collection. The apartment continued to surprise him. Whoever designed this place deserved an award. He needed the architect's contact information immediately. And if Lian's apartment was this impressive, what was the Pentagon itself like? How are you, Kuea? Kan Dia asked over the phone. Lian's apartment is brutal. Huh? What do you mean brutal? Does he have a torture chamber? Should I call the police? I knew it. Lian is terrifying. Don't let him tie you up, okay? Does he own a whip? Kuea, are you safe? Dia. Calm down. Not that kind of brutal. Then what? It's cool. Really cool. Exactly my style. Huh. I like the apartment. That's great. It could become your marital home. Haha. Damn you. It's not like that. If you can't escape Lian in the end, you'll have to stay there. Well, Kuea glanced around the apartment again. If that happens, this place might make me feel better. At the very least, Lian's apartment could provide some comfort. The man was incredibly busy. He frequently traveled to breweries in other provinces. He would not spend much time here, which meant, for now, this apartment belonged to Kuea Karate. Lian Wang laughed softly as he watched someone enthusiastically exploring every corner of his apartment. The 2 dragon dolls had already been abandoned on the sofa. Should he feel disappointed? In the past, he would have been surprised to discover that new Kuea liked modern loft-style architecture. Now he was pleased. They shared the same taste. The Kuea Karate he had never truly known turned out to have many things in common with him. Interior design, fashion, even music. The first time he saw Kuea at Gemini Miller's nightclub, he had been genuinely shocked. It felt as though Kuea Karate was a puzzle with countless hidden pieces waiting to be assembled. Though he was frustrated that Kuea had hidden so much from him, he also felt challenged. In a strange way, it was like planning a life together before marriage. Because Kuea Karate was not new Kuea, and Lian Wang was not the Lian Kuea had known all his life. His engagement to the soft and delicate new Kuea from a noble family had forced Lian Wang to present himself as the perfect man. A flawless fiancé. A storybook prince. The Wang family had once worked for the Karate family. Lian had heard every insult. People called them servants trying to rise above their station. Arrogant new money. A family that did not belong. Many looked down on them because his father was a Chinese immigrant who had built everything from nothing. Lian Wang never wanted new Kuea to hear such things. His greatest priority had always been giving new Kuea the best life possible. Lady Kuelin had always wanted her only son to live like a prince. And Lian had done everything he could to make that wish come true. The perfect relationship. The perfect image. The perfect fiancé. Everything had been built for new Kuea. The little prince received everything. If only. He had been happy. Instead, the little prince turned out to be a troublemaker. A very naughty one. The young man had secretly built an entire world of his own without involving his fiancée at all. If Kuea Karate no longer wanted to be new Kuea, then Lian Wang no longer needed to remain the endlessly accommodating Lian who spoiled every whim of a prince. Turn off all the CCTV cameras, Lian instructed. Leave only the one at the front entrance. Yes, sir. Lian Wang closed the surveillance application on his tablet. The last thing he saw was Kuea Karate rolling around on the sofa in front of the television. He had installed the cameras because no one lived there. Now that Kuea had moved in, they were unnecessary. He would not invade his fiancée's privacy. We've arrived, sir. The luxury car stopped in front of a low-rise building in Thong Lor, not far from the Pentagon. Lian entered a cafe on the ground floor. The person he came to meet sat in the deepest corner, nursing a half-finished glass of beer. Well, Gemini Miller said. The Mafia King of Thong Lor wanted a private meeting. I'm honored. You could have just called. Stop joking, Lian replied. Why not meet at your club? Closed today? My drummer quit. My business is collapsing. Someone's about to take over my nightclub. I'm unemployed. Ignoring the sarcasm, Lian placed a check with an absurd number written on it onto the table. Gemini instantly snatched it up and shoved it into his bag. We're partners now, Lian said. I'm not taking your nightclub. Wonderful. Then when do I get my drummer back? That depends on him. Are you sure you want to invest in a business that's losing money? You and the kid come there all the time, but the place barely makes a profit. I'm practically bankrupt. We can still tear up that check. Keep the club open. If you need anything, come to the Pentagon. Why? None of your business. Your job is to keep operating as usual, Gemini Miller. Lian stood after finishing his beer in a single swallow. Pay for the drink yourself, he said. You're rich now. Yeah, got it. Damn it. I should have thrown you out 5 years ago when you first walked into my club. I have a terrible feeling this is going to become a huge problem. Lian ignored him and left. For Lian Wang, Gemini wasn't the most successful club in the area. Many rooftop bars were far more popular. But Gemini had something unique. Its rooftop offered the clearest view of the Pentagon. The club he had built from the ground up. The club he had poured his heart into. The reason he saved Gemini was simple. It gave Kuea Karate a place where he could be himself. A place where he didn't have to be new Kuea. A place where he could breathe. This time, Lian Wang intended to face Kuea Karate directly. He wasn't trying to destroy new Kuea. He didn't want Kuea to feel trapped, cornered, or hopeless. Winning wasn't about hurting him. It wasn't about pride. If they couldn't resolve this now, how could they ever begin married life together? Lian Wang's goal was simple. He wanted to win the heart of Kuea Karate as Kuea Karate. Not new Kuea. Not a mask. Not a role. And in return, he would be Lian Wang. Not Lian. Not the perfect fiancé. Not the ideal man everyone expected. From now on, they would both be themselves. Chapter 9. Kuea's point of view. I'd never been as anxious to go to campus as I was today. Lian had gone crazy. The man suddenly insisted on taking me to campus himself. From my secret house, it only took 15 minutes to ride Chi Lin to campus. But now that I'd moved to Thong Lor, I had to ride in Lian's car. I had to wake up at 6:30, and the traffic was heavy once we left the Pentagon. I was still very sleepy. Lian's habits weren't like those of someone who ruled the nightlife industry. He slept at 11 o'clock and woke up to run in the morning. Even more surprising, he came home carrying porridge. This place has good food. Let's see if you like it. Who would have thought there would be a day when Lian Wang served porridge to Kuea? He even tore up those sticks and put them into a bowl. Lian remembered that Kuea didn't like offal, so Kuea's porridge contained only pork and a boiled egg, without shallots. His own bowl was fully loaded with ginger, shallots, and everything else. It would have tasted even better if Kuea hadn't been eating at 6:30 in the morning. The kitchen in Lian's apartment was fully stocked. Besides beer, the double-door refrigerator was filled with snacks, juice, and bottled water. Everything was newly stocked, and all of it was Kuea's favorite. Even his favorite imported snack from England was there. Lian had really been serious when he told him to move in. Milk or orange juice? Orange juice, thank you. It felt strange sitting at the kitchen table with Lian. What's more, Lian wasn't wearing a suit as usual. He was dressed in a jacket and sweatpants. And somehow, he looked energetic and approachable. New Kuea, can you make coffee for me? Choose a capsule from the container beside the machine and press the button on the left. It'll make an espresso. A modern capsule coffee machine sat on the counter. Kuea had never actually used one before because he didn't drink coffee. Still, Lian had poured him orange juice. It would be rude to sit there doing nothing. He walked over to the machine. There were capsules in various colors and flavors. Which one do you like, Kuea? Any of them. Once everything was ready, breakfast began. It was simple, comfortable, not awkward. Yet somehow it made Kuea nervous. Lian was acting too normal, while Kuea found himself becoming curious about Lian's daily life. The Lian he usually saw every Friday seemed completely different. Kuea had always imagined that Lian was surrounded by bodyguards, assistants, and maids who handled everything for him. Lian had always seemed like a perfectionist who lived according to a strict schedule. The Lian Wang Kuea knew wasn't someone who would eat breakfast in a tracksuit with slightly messy hair, casually pushing it back with his fingers. Exactly at 7 o'clock, a luxury European car was waiting at the gate with a bodyguard ready to drive them. Lian had just finished showering and had once again become Lian Wang in a suit. Kuea's leaving too? Yeah. I'll head to the office after dropping you off. The headquarters of Lian Beverage Company was in Sathorn, only about 500 meters from the road leading to Siloam BTS station. It was part of Bangkok's business district, and Kuea used to ride Chi Lin through Bang Rak and Sathorn all the time. His secret house had practically been on Lian Wang's radar all along. Kuea had expected the trip to campus to be awkward and suffocating. Instead, it wasn't. Lian barely focused on him. After leaving the Pentagon, they picked up Lian's secretary, who lived nearby. The secretary sat in the front seat, and the two of them immediately began discussing work. Kuea actually felt sorry for the secretary, who kept turning around to speak with Lian. Should we switch seats so you can discuss things more comfortably? Oh, no need, sir. We don't usually talk about work in the car. But we have an urgent meeting today, so I need to brief the deputy director first. Kuea had met Lian's secretary several times at business and social events. Even though he understood absolutely nothing about those discussions, Lian never ignored him or left him out. That was one of the reasons Kuea was so crazy about him. Are you uncomfortable? And no, I just don't want to interrupt Kuea's discussion. It's fine. Seeing Kuea this early in the morning. I'll take that luck into today's meeting. What? Lian spoke softly and even smiled a little. Then he casually returned to work as if nothing had happened. It felt so natural, and it made Kuea's heart race. Lian had never been this gentle before. Why was he suddenly so soft? Kuea shifted closer to the door and stared out the window at Bangkok's morning traffic, trying desperately to calm his pounding heart. What he didn't notice was someone quietly watching his reddening ears with amusement. Then I'll go first. See you later, Kuea? See you later, everyone. The moment the car stopped in front of the engineering faculty, Kuea felt like he could finally breathe again. Wait. Yeah. Chew. Study hard. I'll pick you up this afternoon. Sure, damn it. Lian had kissed his cheek. Kuea's eyes widened. He immediately jumped out of the car and ran toward the building as if zombies were chasing him. Kuea, good morning. Seen? I've seen a ghost. The guardian spirit apparently sent Samer to greet him. The young man wore an orange shoulder bag like a monk. Let me help you, friend. Seen pulled out a rolled scripture from his bag, sprayed something on it, and wrapped Kuea with it. The scent of Thai herbs drifted through the air. What are you doing? If you're driving away ghosts, sprinkle holy water. Why are you wrapping me in a scripture scroll? Just in case the ghost doesn't leave. I'm trying to save your life, Kuea. Why, you're insane. The students walking by burst into laughter. What are you guys doing so early? Seen? Why are you carrying that giant scripture scroll? What happened to Kuea? Why is he tied up? The rest of the gang arrived and immediately started laughing. Oh, nothing. It's Buddhist club duty today. Come on, Kuea. Let's pay respect to Buddha first. What happened to him? He saw a ghost, so I tried to exorcise it. Do you need a spirit jar? We don't have one, but maybe we can use my helmet. I'll cover it with my jacket. Hurry up, Seen, before the ghost drags Kuea away. Kuea rolled his eyes. The rest of the gang lined up behind one another like a giant dragon, each holding the waist of the person in front. One of them waved a jacket around like a bullfighter. Scene began chanting rapidly. "Oh go away, ghost. Oh let me go. Shit. The ghost is resisting. Scene, hurry up and seal it. Stop moving your head. What are you boys doing?" Everyone froze. Professor Pizamai stood nearby. "Didn't you realize you're blocking the walkway? And why is your friend tied up?" "Dean, run." A helmet immediately dropped over Kuea's head. His friends fled without hesitation, abandoning him in the middle of the engineering faculty building. "Bastards. What are you doing?" Sorry, Professor." Kuea lowered his head. Fortunately, Professor Pizamai mainly taught in the arts department, although he occasionally handled general practical courses. Kuea struggled with the bindings, feeling both embarrassed and irritated. His gang was always like this. The moment you slipped up, you'd become their target. Then again, Kuea couldn't complain much. He pulled similar pranks on them all the time. Just wait for the revenge. "Kuea, let me help." "Thanks." "Oh, I'm Nuia. Sophomore. Computer engineering." Kuea glanced at the student's name tag. "Nuia." The face was unfamiliar. "Done." The younger student finished untying him. "Are you going to return the holy scroll to your friend?" "Yep. Thanks. I'll buy you a drink sometime." Kuea grabbed the helmet and stuffed the scroll inside. Nuia was a Chinese Thai student around the same height as him. He wore braces and had a dimple at the corner of his mouth. "Okay, then can you sign for me?" Every year, freshmen collected signatures from seniors. The activity wasn't taken very seriously, but participants could earn notes, gifts, or privileges from upperclassmen. Last year, Kuea had even received a summary of Professor Pisamai's course. "We're in different majors. Does it count?" "No, but I want your line ID." This kid was hitting on him. Kuea couldn't immediately refuse because the boy had just helped him. "I'll be sad if you don't keep your promise." "Well, I know you're engaged, but I still want to be friends. At least let me be another younger brother. I rarely reply to messages." "That's okay. I'll remind you about that drink sometime, Kuea." Clever. And very friendly. None of Kuea's friends acted like this. It left him completely confused. "I miss playing football." Kuea planned to leave class 20 minutes early so nobody would see Lian picking him up. His friends absolutely could not meet Lian. Class dismissed. What? The professor who usually kept them overtime had actually ended class early today. Kuea immediately checked his phone. Lian was already waiting. "Let's play football." "Come on. Tomorrow. I want to go home." "No way. The business administration students challenged us. You promised to score 2 goals. Tun can do it. I have to go." "You're suspicious. I sensed something." "He wasn't a psychic." "Are you still being haunted?" "Who are you?" "You're not our friend." "Our friend would never refuse football." "Nonsense. My fiancé is picking me up today." "You said you broke up, you bastard." "We're useless dogs." "Everyone. Howl. Woo-woo. Woo-woo. Why aren't you howling, Joy?" "Because you're Thai street dogs. I'm a Siberian husky." "Oh, I thought you'd left the pack." "Scene, why aren't you howling?" "I can't decide whether I want to be a Chihuahua or a Pomeranian. Choose later. The important thing is that we howl first." "Thank you all. Your sincerity is bringing me closer to enlightenment." Still joking. Kuea tried to leave, but they grabbed him. "Don't go yet. We know you're worried. People are weak when it comes to love. As the alpha, I'll help you." These idiots were still fooling around. "Alpha of what group?" "That's not the point. We're serious. We're going to meet your fiancé and make sure he doesn't hurt you again. If he does, we'll attack the Pentagon and drink without paying until he goes bankrupt." The bodyguards at the Pentagon carried real guns. These fools would get shot before they even reached the entrance. "No, absolutely not. Do you look down on us because we're poor and in debt? We only steal small things, snatch stuff, annoy our parents, fight children, and flirt with girls. Why discriminate against us?" Kuea wanted to kick them one by one. This was exactly why he didn't want Lian meeting them. How could noble, polite Kuea Kirati possibly be friends with these thugs? He still remembered Khan Dia's reaction after meeting them. Lady Kiwalin would probably faint. "I told Lian I majored in computer engineering and hung out with a bunch of nerds. I pretended to be polite and well-behaved. I even pretended I didn't ride a superbike." The group stared at him for 10 full seconds. Then someone patted his shoulder solemnly. "Kuea, One day your husband is going to report you to the police for fraud. What achievements? You barely pass. We're ruthless idiots. Who would have thought they'd all want to meet Lian? Come on. Lian isn't going to check my grades. Then take as much money as possible and transfer it to our accounts before he finds out. We'll hide it. Then you can escape across the border. Joy will drive you there. No problem. My truck has air conditioning. You guys, please. I'm in a hurry. No. We've decided. We're meeting your fiancé. We'll be your bridesmaids. Free food. No wedding gift required. As your best friends, it's only right. They continued introducing themselves with increasingly ridiculous stories about hacking governments, stealing temple funds, and secret political connections. The nonsense got more and more outrageous. Kuea, stop laughing. You guys are impossible. Enough. I'm tired. Let's go. Everyone suddenly straightened their collars. They even started fixing their hair. You look like you're meeting royalty. Kuea groaned. You guys, please don't do this. I'm willing to kneel. Do you need incense and candles too? Not a single opportunity for a joke was ever wasted. Kuea's hands trembled as he walked with them. Lian would never believe these people were honor students. They looked like they were wearing hand-me-down shirts from seniors 4 years above them. Scene, take point. Joy, stay in the back. I'm a prince studying engineering. Exactly. You're too handsome. What if Kuea's boyfriend thinks you're trying to steal him? Oh, right. Sorry, Kuea. Kuea didn't even bother arguing anymore. When they exited the building, the same car from that morning was parked nearby. Lian Wang stood beside it with his hands in his pockets, quietly speaking on his phone. This was the Lian Kuea knew. Busy, distant, unreachable. His heart started pounding again. Lian ended the call and turned around. Should we cancel this? One of the gang whispered. Kuea's lover is scary. We can't retreat. We are warriors. Please don't do anything. Just go. Too late. He's coming. New Kuea. Hello, these are my friends. Kuea performed a Y. His friends copied him with ridiculous seriousness. Tomorrow they were definitely going to make fun of him for being called New Kuea. Only family and Lian were supposed to call him that. Kuea immediately grabbed Lian's arm, trying to distract him from the disaster behind him. Nice to meet you all. Please take care of New Kuea for me. Of course. New Kuea studies very hard. We're all nerds, after all. Lies. Every single word. Lian glanced at the group before returning his attention to Kuea. I've never met your university friends. Why don't you all come to the Pentagon sometime? My treat. Just tell them you're coming. Thank you very much, sir. We'll definitely visit. Let's go home, See you tomorrow, New Kuea. We're going to the library. Don't forget your homework. Library. These people didn't even know where the library was. Kuea's master. Scene suddenly stepped forward. Please take care of New Kuea. He's been unhappy lately. Speaking of that, Scene pulled a white envelope from his monk bag. Would you like to make a donation for today's merit-making ceremony? Good deeds bring peace, happiness, prosperity, and smooth relationships. Blessings from a royal temple are twice as effective. Lian raised an eyebrow. Then he calmly took 2,000 baht from his wallet and slipped it into the envelope. I rejoice in your generosity, sir. I rejoice in your merit. New Kuea. Kuea wanted to hit Scene with an alms bowl. What temple is holding this famous ceremony? I might be interested in visiting. Why? After finally driving away his friends and climbing into the car, Kuea still couldn't believe it. Lian hadn't been bothered by them at all. If anything, he seemed interested. Maybe he was wondering why polite Kuea associated with people like that. After all, Lian usually only spent time with Kuea. To find a good fortune, come with me. We'll look for one together. Are you organizing a big event? Yes. There'll be about 1,000 guests. What event? Our wedding, obviously. I already told Mom and Dad. We'll fly to Austria during your school break so I can formally propose. After that, I can sleep in your room. What? No. Then you can sleep in mine. I don't want to move into your room. I don't want to marry you. No, that's not an option. If neither of us wants to move, we'll just tear down the wall between our rooms. Problem solved. Yes, darling. Don't act like it's no big deal. I'm not acting indifferent, New Kuea. I just happen to have a handsome face. Don't worry about it. Ugh, where was the holy water? Kuea wanted to pour it over Lian and exorcise whatever spirit had possessed him. The evil spirit that had turned Lian into a completely different person. Kuea felt like giving up all over again. He turned away. Why was dealing with someone like Lian so difficult? Chapter 10. Lian's point of view. Lian Wang grew up with responsibility. From a young age, he woke before dawn to help his father at the ice warehouse. Orders were always heavy in the early morning because many markets opened at daybreak. His mother stayed busy taking orders. At exactly 7 o'clock, Lian returned home to shower before heading to school. After school, he helped his father again at the warehouse, preparing deliveries for restaurants and bars. When the sky finally darkened, he ate dinner, did his homework, and went to sleep. At a young age, Lian never had the luxury of thinking about anything beyond his routine. Only on weekends did he spend extra time cleaning himself up and dressing nicely. He always chose the best clothes in his wardrobe and carefully ironed them. His mother scrubbed his skin with a pumice stone until it almost burned, then combed his hair neatly back. Everything was done so the ice warehouse owner's son would look presentable. All of it was for dinner at the Kurati mansion. His parents were extremely careful whenever they visited the Kurati family. You could say that visiting day was the most important day of the week. They set aside the rough attitudes they normally used while managing workers at the warehouse. Lian Wang had to appear as a young master with perfect manners. The main reason was to show respect to the Kurati family, a noble family with an esteemed position in society. The second reason was so he could be a good example for his fiancé. Before Kuea was born, Lian behaved like the leader of a neighborhood gang, especially among the workers' children at his father's warehouse. However, after meeting Kuea for the first time, he realized that from that moment on, he needed to become a reliable man, a leader, a protector for Kuea forever. Kuea looked like a tiny kitten hiding behind the ice shed. Mrs. Kuelan had told him that new Kuea would be a good child if Lian loved and cared for him. Baby Kuea was soft as cotton, with rosy skin and bright eyes. 7-year-old Lian Wang had promised Mrs. Kuelan that he would take care of Kuea for the rest of his life. Becoming a fiancé worthy of new Kuea was far more difficult than managing the Wang family's business. New Kuea grew up exactly as a noble descendant should. Everything Kuea did looked graceful. His impeccable manners made everyone admire him. Standing beside Mrs. Kuelan and her ambassador husband, Kuea seemed like someone from a completely different world. Because of that, Lian Wang worked tirelessly to become a suitable fiancé for new Kuea. He wanted to erase every insult directed at his family for being Chinese immigrants who had fled their homeland. He wanted everyone to see that he deserved to stand beside new Kuea. He wanted new Kuea to feel fortunate to be engaged to him. He wanted new Kuea to be absolutely certain that he would be his life partner forever. Who said only Kuea Kurati put effort into their relationship. Lian Wang devoted himself just as much to becoming a worthy fiancé. His real lifestyle was very different from the image of the gentle older brother who always protected and cared for his younger fiancé. The most important thing was maintaining the right image. As deputy director of Lian Beverage Company, every suit he wore had to be tailored by renowned designers. During his teenage years, he attended personality development courses and studied Thai, Chinese, and European dining etiquette. After all, Lian was not born into nobility and had not grown up with such traditions. He never missed an anniversary, a celebration, or an opportunity for a surprise. Every restaurant had to be the best. The atmosphere had to be perfect. The food had to be exceptional. Also, new Kuea could post beautiful photos on Instagram or send them to Mrs. Kuelan. The elders of both families were always watching from afar. New Kuea loved Chinese food. Whenever Lian asked him to choose a restaurant, he always chose Chinese cuisine. Eventually, Lian stopped asking about the menu because it was always the same. He grew tired of fish, goose feet, and clay pot dishes. Still, whenever he saw his fiancée eating with puffed cheeks and a happy expression, he kept eating right alongside him. Even though Lian himself was of Chinese descent, he had no desire to eat Chinese food every week. He had no problem with simple meals or street food. He wanted to take new Kuea to a hot pot restaurant someday, but the young man never seemed interested in grilled meat. Lian Wang was not naturally romantic. Still, he tried. He followed advice from the internet and copied whatever celebrities were doing. If something made new Kuea smile, he would do it. That was why Lian Wang always appeared flawless in front of new Kuea. Yet despite that image, he shared a wild friendship with his best friend, Fiancé Chat Dekachun. Their personalities matched too well for them not to be friends. The difference was that Lian was extremely careful about protecting his fiancé's reputation. Fiac, on the other hand, did not care at all. The Chun family was practically a mafia family disguised as wealthy businessmen. For over 30 years, they had been among the country's top distributors of European luxury cars. He had grown up in the supercar industry. He loved racing and modifying cars. One day, he dreamed of building an international Formula One circuit. The two ambitious friends had different dreams. He wanted his own racing circuit. Lian wanted to build the Pentagon into the greatest entertainment venue in the country. Their lives were extraordinary. Racing, traveling, attending elite parties, building connections. Whatever wealthy heirs did to expand their networks, Lian did as well. Still, there was one boundary he never crossed. He would never hurt Kuea. Many socialites attended parties with celebrities on their arms. Even he often arrived with a different actress every time. But for Lian, there was only one person who had the right to stand beside him. Kuea. Growing up with Fiac Chun, Lian inevitably entered the world of supercars, just as he became familiar with the beverage industry. The Wang and Chun families worked closely together. Chun showrooms across the country served Lian products. The beverage company's logo appeared on racing uniforms and sponsorship banners. In return, Lian bought supercars for me. The first car he recommended was definitely not suitable for beginners. After seeing he drive an Aston Martin right up to his house, Lian became interested. Over time, four supercars occupied the basement parking of his office building. A Lamborghini, a Maserati, an Aston Martin, and a Ferrari. Lian Wang loved supercars and was already considering a fifth one. However, after his fiancée returned to Thailand, he bought a Mercedes-Benz instead so he could comfortably drive Kuea everywhere. The image of a deputy director in a tailored suit sitting in the back of a luxury Mercedes completely overshadowed the image of a man wearing a graphic t-shirt, ripped jeans, and leather boots while speeding down a highway. There was no way Kuea would like that side of him. All Kuea had ever known was the refined fiancé who wore elegant shirts, vests, and ties like a noble young master. To match that image, Lian always dressed formally whenever they met, especially since they only saw each other every Friday. The profile Lian Wang had carefully built was flawless. A polite, well-mannered fiancé worthy of a noble family. A hardworking businessman. A successful owner of the Pentagon. The admiration in Kuea's eyes was the reward for all that effort. No one had forced him to do any of it. Everything he did was for Kuea. At the same time, it also benefited his business. The image and reputation he cultivated protected him from the judgmental eyes of society and those within his social circle. Gradually, he planned to reveal more of his real self. He would let Kuea get to know him better. He had 4 years. Lian Wang could wait. He had already waited a very long time to marry the fiancée he regarded as a fragile porcelain doll. He had always known that one day he would marry Kuea. Responsibilities consumed most of his life, leaving little room for personal desires. His thoughts were simple. He had Kuea. He stood beside Kuea. He was engaged to Kuea. He would marry Kuea. It had always been that way. Those facts were attached to him as naturally as breathing, and he intended to stay with Kuea forever. But things did not go according to plan, because Kuea was hiding a very important secret from him. The real Kuea was completely different. Everything began when Lian was searching for famous foreign musicians to perform at the Pentagon. The venue catered to wealthy customers who enjoyed exclusive experiences. Most of them did not understand music. As long as an artist's profile sounded impressive, they were satisfied. One of the musicians Lian wanted to contact was a mysterious drummer who uploaded cover songs on YouTube. The channel's name was written in English. Kiran. Lian had connections with a sound engineer at a major British record company. He hired the engineer to help produce new music and attract more customers to the Pentagon. Every artist recommended had to be talented enough to perform there. Modern music and expensive productions were part of what made the Pentagon one of the country's premier entertainment venues. One of the artists who had worked with that sound engineer was Kiran. The engineer told Lian that Kiran was extremely difficult to contact. The drummer rejected nearly every offer except requests for background music. Even then, he only accepted projects that interested him. The harder something was to obtain, the more appealing it became. Kiran's logo appeared in every video. accompanied by a sleek digital business card. However, the only contact information provided was an email address and a YouTube channel. No matter how many times Lian's people reached out, there was never a reply. Lian Wang watched every video on the Kirin channel. Most of the music was indie rock, one of his favorite genres. Something about Kirin fascinated him. The atmosphere felt strangely familiar. Addictive. Lian was certain he had met someone with a similar presence before. He simply could not remember who. Until one day, a printed version of Kirin's digital business card appeared in front of him. At Gemini Miller's nightclub, a place he had frequented for years. And Jay was holding the card. Jay. You know this kid? What kid? Lian snatched the card from him. After reading it, he almost laughed. The elusive Kirin he had spent so much effort trying to contact was right here. Kirin. He's still young. I don't know. Gemini Miller was resourceful. If Lian admitted he wanted Kirin to perform at the Pentagon, Jay would never reveal the drummer's identity. He would probably make fun of him first. He covers a lot of songs on YouTube. About 500,000 subscribers. Pretty famous in indie rock circles. Jay's expression clearly showed that he knew more than he was willing to say. The same kind of music you play here? Yeah, the kid's performing tonight. I got lucky convincing him to come. Looking at that face, you'd never expect him to play drums that well. He's talented and still young. The drummer on stage? No, that's the opening act. He's next. Just wait. He's cool. Lian Wang acted indifferent, but his attention never left the stage. The rooftop club featured a small stage inside an air-conditioned space. 1, 2, 3. The drummer struck his sticks together. Music exploded through the venue. The indie band immediately energized the crowd. The vocalist was handsome, stylish, and instantly captured everyone's attention. Most of the audience watched him. Meanwhile, guitarists, bassists, and keyboard players lined the front of the stage, moving to the rhythm. Who would pay attention to the drummer hidden behind the drum set in the corner? Kuea wore a cap, pulled low over his face. His wrists moved swiftly as he unleashed a relentless rhythm. Anyone knowledgeable about music would immediately recognize it. His technique was far beyond average. His skills and tricks were undeniably professional. And because he remained hidden behind the drums, he never noticed a familiar customer seated nearby. Lian Wang looked completely different from his usual self. He was not wearing a suit. No expensive shirt. No tie. His hair was not slicked back like a Hong Kong movie star. Instead, he wore a designer graphic t-shirt, slightly ripped black jeans, and leather boots. His hair moved freely in the rooftop breeze. An expensive cigarette rested between his lips. Holding a glass in one hand, he gazed out at the night view of Sukhumvit 55. His favorite drinking spot had never been the Pentagon. It was this small rooftop. From here, he had a perfect view of the Pentagon in the distance. Lian Wang thought he must be mistaken. How could his fiancé, the same fiancé he had driven home, the same fiancé who called to wish him good night in a sweet voice, be standing there? Why was Kuea hiding behind a drum set? Why was he spinning drumsticks and creating the atmosphere of an entire nightclub? The certainty he had built around Kuea shattered. The shock nearly made Lian crush the glass in his hand. Everything he thought he knew suddenly became questionable. How could he be sure Kuea had not secretly thought he was a fool all this time? His precious porcelain doll had suddenly transformed into Annabelle. At that moment, Lian Wang was so furious he wanted to drag Kuea away and shake him. Instead, he ordered his trusted people to investigate Kuea's secret life. The more information he received, the more shocked he became. Eventually, his anger faded and transformed into admiration. Kuea was not the real Kuea. The real Kuea was something entirely different. And one fact was especially difficult to believe. Kuea loved superbikes, while Lian Wang loved supercars. How could the side of Kuea he had never known match his tastes so perfectly? Their long, predictable relationship needed a fresh beginning. Kuea and Lian's love story was one thing. Lian Wang's attraction to Kuea was something else entirely. That realization led him to ask his fiancée to move in with him. Naturally, he sought permission from both families first. Kuea was cute. Kuea was cute too, though Lian preferred the second version. What's it like living with Kuea? Lian Wang smiled while standing outside his bedroom. After dinner the previous night, Kuea had immediately disappeared into his room. He still needs some time, Aunt Q. Has he been causing trouble? New Kuea is a naughty child, Lian. I was worried you might return him to me. Mrs. Kiwalin chuckled. Her words made Lian laugh softly. No way. I wouldn't return him no matter what. Lian, are you sure you want to marry him? I'm afraid you're only doing this because of the elders. As for the Kirati family business, don't worry about it. It doesn't feel right. The Wang family has already purchased so much of our land as part of the marriage arrangements. Sometimes I feel like we're taking advantage of you. The Kirati family was no longer as prosperous as it once had been. That was why Kuea's grandfather had entrusted the family's silk businesses to Lian. The family remained respected because of Mrs. Kiwalin's position as an ambassador's wife and because they still owned several valuable properties. Lian's father had helped preserve the family's reputation many times. As a result, ownership of some Kirati properties had passed into Wang family hands. They had even signed contracts transferring several properties to Kuea after the marriage. The old Kirati mansion, among others, would eventually belong to him. Don't worry, Aunt Q. New Kuea isn't just anyone. I love him from the bottom of my heart, and I'll marry him as soon as he graduates. Thank you, Lian. Oh my, you really can't wait, can you? Lian Wang chatted with Mrs. Kiwalin for quite some time before ending the call. If necessary, he would marry Kuea tomorrow. They had been engaged for far too long. Everything should have happened by now. He wanted Kuea Kirati to become his wife. Chapter 11. Kuea Kirati thought he had seen a ghost. On the second day of living with Lian, his fiancé was cooking. Lian could cook. The end of the world must be coming. Good morning, new Kuea. Good morning, Hia. This was the real Lian, not a stunt double or a twin. Lian stood in front of the electric stove, making a fragrant omelet. His large hand turned off the stove, transferred the omelet onto a plate, and stirred the porridge simmering in the pot. He looked completely at ease in the kitchen, flipping the spatula and reaching for seasonings without even looking. Kuea could confidently say that Lian was an expert cook. Kuea's stomach growled. New Kuea, get me some salted eggs from the fridge. Then bring the limes and chopped chilies. All right. Kuea was amazed, as if he had just discovered a new wonder of the world. Kuea Kirati, who should have known how to cook, could not even make an omelet. Fortunately, he at least knew the difference between salted eggs, fresh eggs, and preserved century eggs. The limes and chilies were stored in the vegetable compartment. Cut the salted eggs and the limes. The knife is over there. Unlucky. What should he do? Still, it was only cutting salted eggs. It shouldn't be difficult. Cut once and the egg would split in half. Easier than modifying a superbike. His soft hands trembled as he pulled a knife from the wooden knife block that matched Lian's loft-style apartment. The next problem was which direction to cut. Eggs were oval-shaped, lengthwise or crosswise. He vaguely remembered seeing salted eggs cut lengthwise before. All right, lengthwise it was. Why hadn't he paid attention when Kanjiao cooked for him? Why hadn't he learned from his mother? And why could Lian cook? With all his wealth, he could simply order food or hire chefs. Since Kuea was born, Lian had never once mentioned that he could cook. Kuea glanced at Lian, who was stirring porridge while sautéing vegetables nearby. He carefully shifted his position to block Lian's view of the salted eggs and limes. Otherwise, Lian would discover that he could not cook at all. All right, hold the knife. Hold the egg. 1, 2, 3. Chop. Phew. The salted egg split neatly in half, boosting his confidence. The second egg was much easier. All of them were soon cut into quarters. Salted eggs, done. The limes should be easy too. Feeling confident, Kuea picked up a lime and raised the knife. 1, 2, 3. New Kuea. Yes. Lian immediately snatched the knife from Kuea's raised hand. Kuea turned toward Lian Wang, who was frowning. What had he done wrong? He had only cut the eggs and prepared the limes exactly as instructed. Who told you to raise the knife that high? The knife almost hit my head. And why are you using a cleaver to cut eggs and limes? No, cannot. That knife is too big. Use a medium-sized one. The cleaver was confiscated despite Kuea's belief that it had been the most suitable choice. Lian placed it in the sink and took out a smaller knife. Holding a lime, he sliced it effortlessly. Like that. Next time, don't raise the knife so high. It's dangerous. Okay, I'm sorry. Lian had never scolded him before. Kuea suddenly felt sad. His eyes stung with tears. He remembered the day Lian had said he didn't love him. The same cold tone echoed in his memory. Try again. Nu Kuea, why are you crying? It's nothing. I'm sorry. Kuea turned away, but a strong arm stopped him. Lian pushed him gently against the kitchen counter, trapping him between both arms. Why? It's nothing. Whenever he felt hurt, Kuea wanted to cry and be comforted. Now that Lian was speaking softly, his heart melted. He could only cry like this in front of Lian. Are you upset because I scolded you? Sob? And no. He tried to hide his face with his hands, but Lian stopped him and leaned closer. I wasn't scolding you to make you sad. I was worried the knife would slip and hurt you. Please don't cry. I'm sorry. Lian had become gentler. He even smiled the way he used to long ago, before the weight of responsibility settled on his shoulders. Back, when he had simply been Kuea's kind Lian. Lian gently rubbed his head. Kuea immediately surrendered. Lian always won. No matter what happened, Lian would always be number one in Kuea's heart. His round eyes met a pair of sharp ones. Only then did he realize how close they were. Lian had never been this close except when they kissed. His ears burned red. His face burned. Even his neck felt hot. He tried to push Lian away, only to receive a knowing smile. Lian refused to move. Back off. Did I make you embarrassed? No. Why would I be embarrassed? You're making things up. Really? I didn't make you blush? Lian was so annoying. He leaned even closer. Their noses nearly touched. The scent of Lian's expensive cologne filled Kuea's senses. His heart pounded so hard it felt ready to burst from his chest. This was dangerous. A kiss sealed his lips. Kuea struggled, but he was no match for Lian's strength. The more he resisted, the tighter the embrace became. He tried to turn away, but Lian tilted his face and continued kissing him relentlessly. Kuea could barely breathe. His knees weakened until he could hardly support himself. When Lian finally released him, Kuea thought he was free. Instead, Lian whispered against his lips, "Good morning, kiss." Then Lian Wang kissed him again. It felt as though he was stealing Kuea Kirate's soul. It took tremendous effort for Lian Wang to finally let him go. He looked at Kuea's flushed face with satisfaction. If only Nu Kuea paid attention, he would have seen every feeling reflected in Lian's eyes. Lian rubbed his nose against Kuea's soft cheek, and then his ear. He gently bit Kuea's ear before finally pulling away. His strong arms lifted the still-dazed Kuea onto the kitchen counter. While Kuea recovered, Lian set the table and filled their bowls with porridge. Let's eat first. Lian's lips curved upward at the sight of the young man flinching. Kuea glared at him before quickly looking away. He even shifted his bowl farther away, though Lian's arms were more than long enough to reach it. I don't want to see Hia's face anymore. That will be difficult. You'll keep seeing my face until we're old. I'll tell Mom if you keep bullying me. I wonder how Aunt Q will react when she finds out I've kissed you. Maybe she'll want to speed things up. Hia can't do this to me. It's against my will. Lian couldn't tell whether Kuea was truly angry or simply embarrassed. Smiling, Lian Wang raised an eyebrow. I believe our first kiss was against your will. But the second one? I don't think so. Hia. Yes, darling. I have to go to campus. You don't need to drive me. I can go by myself. No. Finish your breakfast first. I've lost my appetite. Lian Wang wrapped an arm around his slender waist and refused to let him leave. Breakfast was important. Lian had no idea whether Kuea had been taking proper care of himself. Kuea lived a nightlife lifestyle, performing and recording song covers for his YouTube channel. He rode superbikes through both blazing sun and pouring rain. Lian had many things to worry about, and now that they lived under the same roof, he felt he had every right to worry. If you don't want to eat, I'll feed you. I do not want to eat. Kuea pouted stubbornly. Young Master Karate was truly mischievous. However, for Lian Wang, who had once worked in an ice cellar before building a beverage empire and creating the magnificent Pentagon, handling a naughty fiancé was a very small matter. If you still refuse to eat, I'll feed you with my mouth. We'll kiss until your lips swell. Or are you acting naughty because you want me to kiss you? Don't threaten me. I'm not threatening you. I'm a man who keeps his word. Try me. If I lose control and do more than just kiss you, don't blame me. Satisfaction filled those sharp eyes when his fiancé finally gave in and started eating. Nu Kuea chewed his food with puffed cheeks. In his frustration, He completely forgot that Lian had already discovered he couldn't cook. Unexpected did not mean disappointing. Whenever new Kuea attended events with Mrs. Kiwalin, he often helped with desserts. Mrs. Kiwalin was the perfect noblewoman. She loved making sweets, not for business, but for charity events. Lian Wang always bought something from her booths. New Kuea's mischievous side had always been hidden beneath Mrs. Kiwalin's elegance. His bright smile and sweet voice, whenever he called Lian's name, had fooled everyone. Lian had never realized that he had never once seen new Kuea actually cooking. His fiancé had no interest in cooking, baking, housework, or handicrafts. That was Lian's conclusion. He had misunderstood him. Just like everyone else, he had been deceived by new Kuea's sweet image. Watching new Kuea raise a cleaver to cut salted eggs had nearly stopped Lian's heart. At first, he thought new Kuea was joking. But when Kuea repeated the exact same movement for the second egg, he realized the truth. The knife slammed down with a loud thud, as if he were chopping meat. The lime almost became the next victim. Lian immediately grabbed Kuea's arm before the knife could reach his fingers. He was genuinely worried that Kuea would hurt himself. New Kuea's hands revealed the truth. Lian had never touched him improperly before. When they walked together, he simply allowed new Kuea to hold his arm, or he rested a hand lightly on Kuea's back. A talented drummer could never have perfectly smooth hands. New Kuea's fingers and palms were slightly rough, marked with calluses from countless hours gripping drumsticks. To Lian Wang, that was not a problem at all. If anything, it proved how deeply Kuea loved drumming. Kuea Karate's happiness was Lian Wang's happiness. Lian intended to let new Kuea continue playing drums at Gemini Club. He didn't want Kuea to give everything up because of him. He had simply assumed that new Kuea wanted to become a housewife, like Mrs. Kiwalin. If his future wife preferred traveling with bands and playing drums at concerts, why not? But earning new Kuea's trust would not be easy. Someone who had hidden secrets for so long and built such high walls would struggle to let anyone into his world. To new Kuea, Lian still felt like an outsider rather than a fiancé. Lian would have to take the first step. He had spoiled new Kuea his entire life. Doing it again was no problem. I'll take you. All right. Lian Wang escorted Kuea downstairs. Waiting at the entrance was a red Lamborghini worth 45 million baht, complete with a prized license plate. Lian accepted the key from his bodyguard and opened the passenger door. For someone who loved superbikes, Lian Wang believed Lamborghinis were just as exciting. New Kuea's eyes lit up despite his attempt to remain calm. Lian was certain he was thrilled. There were only 3 cars of this model in Thailand, and only 900 worldwide. The Chun family had imported it, and thanks to his friendship with them, Lian had secured one through an auction. Although the official price was 45 million baht, the actual auction price had been far higher. Why haven't I seen this car before? It's uncomfortable. The seats can't be adjusted properly. I was worried your back would hurt. I see. Do you like sports cars? Yes. I have 4. I didn't buy a 5th because you came back to Thailand. The Mercedes-Benz is more comfortable. Lian shifted gears and smoothly guided the car through traffic. He overtook slower vehicles, but kept his speed reasonable on Bangkok's busy roads. Sports cars were much more enjoyable on highways or on the Chun family's racing circuit. How fast can this car go? 350 kilometers per hour. Kuea nearly squealed. One glance was enough to identify it as a Lamborghini Aventador. It was outrageously expensive. He had never imagined Lian owned one of the 3 available in Thailand. Lian did not look like someone who drove sports cars. In Kuea's mind, Lian was a businessman who sat in the back seat discussing work, attending meetings, and giving instructions over the phone. Yet the way Lian gripped the steering wheel and changed gears, the fact that he owned 4 sports cars, everything was beyond Kuea's imagination. Once again, Lian felt like a stranger. Ever since he had claimed not to love him, everything had changed. He had become flirtatious, mischievous, unreadable, sharp. He was Lian, yet not the Lian Kuea knew. Who had kidnapped him? Did he secretly have a twin brother? Maybe the real Lian had been replaced like in a soap opera. Or perhaps he was possessed. Should Kuea borrow some holy water from Sin and sprinkle it on him? What kind of person are you, Hia? What about you? What kind of person is new Kuea? I'm me. I'm me too. Lian Wang's answer, along with that smile, left a deep impression on Kuea Karate. What exactly did Lian Wang mean by those words? Chapter 12. We're going to meet my friends. Kuea Karate froze when Lian said he would take him to the Pentagon. It was true that Lian's apartment was right next to the Pentagon, but Kuea had never set foot there. Once, he had asked to go, but Lian said he was still underage. He had never really spoken to Lian's friends either, except for Yi, who would greet him politely whenever Kuea approached to talk to Lian. I won't be able to talk to them. The 7-year age gap had always been an obstacle for Kuea. He never felt like he belonged in Lian Wang's circle of friends. While Lian spent time with them, Kuea stayed beside his mother. Everyone knew that Lian and Kuea were engaged, yet it always felt as though there was no place for Kuea among Lian's friends. If he accompanied Lian to the Pentagon, he would probably just sit there in silence. It wouldn't be fun, and maybe Lian would get bored. That was what Kuea had always believed. Lian would never introduce him to his friends because Kuea was boring. It's all right. I'm with you. Lian's large hand wrapped around Kuea's, and suddenly he felt reassured. New Kuea was always ready to trust Lian wholeheartedly, even though Lian didn't love him. Until now, Kuea had never truly known Lian Wang's friends. They were all older than him. Because of that, Kuea always felt like a child who didn't fit into Lian's world. Usually, he stood quietly beside his mother, watching his fiancé from afar. But today, Lian brought Kuea Karate to the Pentagon to meet his friends. Entertainment venues were nothing new to him, yet Kuea still held tightly onto Lian's arm. After all, this was the first time Lian had invited him into his circle. Lian's friends were gathered in the VIP area. Their faces were familiar because Kuea had seen them at parties before, but he had never spoken to them. Everyone, this is new Kuea, my fiancé. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Kuea. Can you believe we actually wanted to get to know you? Lian is very possessive. Hearing such an unexpected comment, Kuea immediately looked at Lian. The man being accused merely curled his lips into a faint smile and made no effort to deny it. Kuea stood awkwardly until Lian wrapped an arm around his waist and guided him toward a long sofa. Lian sat beside him and placed Kuea's hand on his thigh. Bring the wine I ordered. Yes, sir. The nightclub manager hurried away. Before long, the VIP table was filled with snacks and drinks. No liquor tonight. No, I'm drinking with new Kuea. Having lived in Europe for a long time, Kuea was used to drinking wine, and Lian knew that. What Lian didn't know was that Kuea could drink almost any kind of alcohol. Nights out with his friends and performances at Jay's club had introduced him to all sorts of drinks, from beer to herbal liquors. In fact, he had been craving wine for several days. Wow, how romantic. You're spoiling him, aren't you? Who else would I spoil? Kuea Karate never imagined he would hear such words from Lian. The answer left him completely speechless. He had never experienced anything like this before, a situation where Lian acted like a romantic lover. Lian had always been good to him. It was just that, until now, no one had ever paid attention to it. He's so embarrassed. Take it easy. He hasn't graduated yet, has he? He smirked as he raised his glass in greeting. Kuea lifted his own glass and nodded politely. He was much older than him and was also Kan Dia's fiancé. Even though their relationship didn't seem particularly smooth, Kuea would never dare ask about it. New Kuea, just tell me if you want anything. And no, it's okay. I'm still full from dinner. Lian, you're overreacting. The Pentagon is drowning in your sweetness. In a situation like this, Kuea didn't dare argue with Lian. He was too nervous because all of Lian's friends were looking at him. They kept teasing him until his face felt warm. This was completely different from being with his own group of friends. This was far too difficult to deal with. Over the past few days, Kuea had struggled to understand Lian Wang. His original plan had been to act so troublesome that he would be thrown out and the engagement would eventually be cancelled. That now seemed impossible. Lian always had a way of winning. Even his suspicion that Lian was secretly involved with someone else seemed impossible. If Lian really had another person, why would he bring Kuea to live under the same roof and introduce him to his friends? Very strange. Why are you only introducing him to us now? Are you two getting married soon? Do we need to prepare our suits already? And no, we're not getting married yet. Poor Lian. Kuea doesn't want to marry you. Lian chuckled. Enough. Stop bothering my fiancé. I only brought him here because he just turned 20. Everyone looked at him in disbelief. As the owner of the Pentagon, couldn't he have made an exception for his underage fiancé? Even Kuea didn't believe that explanation. Really? Yes. I don't want people thinking I'm abusing my privileges. If you're underage, you can't come in here. Your family is highly respected. It would reflect badly on you. Even beneath the dim nightclub lights, Kuea could see Lian's warm smile. Why? Why did Lian look so affectionate? Why did such a cold person act this way? He's just possessive. He doesn't want Kuea meeting a bunch of idiots like you. Fiac Chin's sarcastic remark drew laughter from everyone. Kuea couldn't help laughing as well. Lian's friends were much funnier than he had imagined. You're the worst, E. Laughed. There was an intimidating aura around him. Even when he did nothing, he seemed difficult to approach. Kuea couldn't imagine how Dia dealt with him. Lian, about the car. He stood and moved toward the area near the stage. I'll be right back. Take care of new Kuea for me. Okay. As soon as Lian left, Kuea shifted nervously in his seat. The conversation quickly drifted toward topics he couldn't follow. All he could do was stare at the stage below. The music at the Pentagon was modern and trendy, the same kind of songs commonly heard in American nightclubs. The DJ performing tonight was well known in the Thai music industry. Kuea remembered hearing that Lian frequently invited famous international musicians and DJs to perform. With that level of effort, the Pentagon had become one of the most successful clubs in Thailand. Kuea tapped his fingers against his thigh in rhythm with the music. It was instinctive for a musician. The song currently playing had only recently been released. Kuea had just finished recording a cover version for his YouTube channel and was waiting for the final audio and video edits. He missed Jay's nightclub, and he missed Lian even more. The strange thing was, living with Lian wasn't as uncomfortable as he had expected. He thought it would be much worse. He thought Lian would constantly keep him by his side and order him around. But that wasn't what happened at all. After picking him up from campus, Lian usually left him alone and returned to work. Even today, Lian hadn't bothered him after dinner. He only called for Kuea after 9:30 that evening. It seemed, Lian simply wanted them to live together. There didn't appear to be any hidden motive. If only there were a drum studio and Lian nearby, his life would be perfect. How's life with your future spouse? Wonderful. Lian Wang smirked at his best friend, whose expression immediately became irritated. Fiac Chat Deka Chin didn't believe in marriage. His engagement made him feel trapped and deprived of freedom. Once, Lian had told him to open his heart, but that advice clearly hadn't worked. You're fooling yourself. I've been engaged to Kuea since he was born. Why would I fool myself for that long? Meanwhile, I was forced into having a fiancé. Who could force someone like Fiac? You're not the type. Despite the teasing, Fiac merely looked annoyed as always. Lian never interfered in his friend's relationship. That was a personal matter. The Ducati Panigale V4R arrives the day after tomorrow, straight from Italy. Why would you buy something like that? You've never cared about superbikes before. It's a gift. A gift worth 3.5 million baht? How important is this person? Very. I think he rides a BMW S1000R. The Panigale is a little slow off the line, but once it gets going, it'll leave everything behind. You know nothing about superbikes, yet you're buying one as a gift. That's funny. Who is it for? Why do you want to know? Lian Wang raised an eyebrow. Fiac scoffed and took a sip of beer. It's a powerful machine. It'll be wasted if the rider isn't skilled. My bodyguards always fail to keep up with him. I think he'll be fine. Superbikes weren't toys for reckless teenagers. Accidents happened easily. The more powerful the engine, the greater the risk. Many inexperienced riders had lost their lives because of that. But new Kuea wasn't reckless. The young man knew exactly what he was doing. Considering how Kuea managed both sides of his life, he couldn't have come this far without discipline. Where should it be delivered? Here. Do you need a formal handover? Photos and congratulations. Lian knew dealerships loved taking photos with giant ceremonial keys. Still, Lian Wang didn't exactly buy vehicles through ordinary channels. Bring the keys yourself, and I'll take a picture with you. If I come, will I meet this person? What do you think? Both men already knew the answer. Fiac shook his head and patted his friend's shoulder before returning to his seat. His sharp eyes drifted toward Kuea. Lian was acting strangely. He had suddenly introduced his fiancé to his friends, even though he had spent years keeping everyone away from Kuea. Normally, Lian wouldn't even allow casual conversations. The polished image of Deputy Director Lian Wang was supposed to remain separate from the cunning founder of the Pentagon. Yet now everything was changing. He had seen how gentle Lian became around his fiancée. He treated Kuea with extraordinary care. That was why people called them the ideal couple. He had seen Lian Wang race on his track. He had seen him gamble. He had seen him enjoy countless other hobbies. But there was one thing Lian never did. He never brought anyone home. No handsome boy or beautiful girl had ever sat in the passenger seat of Lian Wang's car. At parties and clubs, the seat beside him was always empty. There had only ever been one person in his heart. A 3.5 million baht superbike imported directly from Italy. The recipient had to be special. Was it Kuea Karate? If so, their relationship was becoming very interesting. One loved supercars. The other loved superbikes. Both hid their true nature beneath sweet smiles. He wasn't sure which of them was more mischievous. Lian Wang noticed the suspicion in his friend's gaze. He was intelligent. Otherwise, he could never have survived in the highly competitive luxury car business. I'll take new Kuea home. He intended to leave before midnight. The wine bottles were nearly empty. What surprised him most was Kuea's tolerance for alcohol. His cheeks were red and his eyes drooping, yet he was still talking. Not yet. Let's play spin the bottle. He, who rarely suggested games, suddenly spoke up. If the bottle lands on someone, they have to choose between answering honestly or drinking. Oh, that's right. We can't skip it. Tonight's target is Lian. Kuea, if the bottle lands on him, ask anything you want. These men clearly had no intention of letting them leave. New Kuea had already finished several glasses of wine. A simple party game certainly wouldn't affect him. Yes, I want to play. Are you sure, New Kuea? Yes. Lian thought Kuea might get carried away. Still, if he wanted to play, then so be it. The game began. The trick, of course, was that the person spinning the bottle was usually cheating. And sure enough, the bottle repeatedly landed on Kuea and Lian. It always happened whenever someone brought their lover along. Lian, have you ever kissed Kuea? The first question was easy. Lian Wang smiled and looked at his shocked fiancé. Yes. Whoa, a fist landed against his shoulder. Lian laughed. He caught the embarrassed young man's hand before Kuea could hit him again. Kuea, is Lian a good kisser? I won't say. Then drink. You don't have to do that. Too late. Blushing fiercely, New Kuea lifted a glass and took a sip. Lian Wang narrowed his eyes at his friends, but no one cared anymore. Lian, have you slept with him? I won't answer. Pour me a drink. Lian smiled slyly. He would never admit that all they had ever done was kiss. If he acted mysterious, everyone would assume more had happened. That was fine. Eventually, it would happen. He was certain of it. Kuea, what's the sexiest part of Lian? I don't know. You can't say that. That's against the rules. Faced with endless questions, New Kuea's eyes grew even heavier. His words became slurred. Lian Wang turned and met Kuea's gentle, unfocused gaze. The young man looked adorable. Embarrassed beyond endurance, he leaned against Lian's shoulder and buried his face there. Don't want to answer anymore, HM? Lian whispered softly. Then he waved a hand toward his friends, signaling the end of the game. Everyone laughed, but complied. The half-drunk young man didn't understand. He remained pressed against Lian's shoulder. It's difficult. Am I not sexy? Lian's voice was barely above a whisper. He didn't care that other people were nearby. They wouldn't hear. At that moment, only he and the owner of those sleepy eyes existed. Finally, Kuea looked directly at him. I don't know. His small lips pouted in annoyance. Lian couldn't resist pinching his cheek gently. What do you like about me, HM? I don't like you anymore. Kuea isn't sweet anymore. What do I have to do to become sweet again for New Kuea? He has to love me first. Lian Wang has always loved Kuea Karate. Lian leaned forward and placed a soft kiss on Kuea's nose. Before he could pull away completely, the half-drunk young man grabbed his collar and pressed their lips together. Shouts erupted around them. Camera shutters clicked rapidly. Lian Wang immediately snatched a menu from E and used it to shield their faces. Did they really think he would move away from Kuea Karate? Not a chance. New Kuea would have to take responsibility for what he started. With that thought, Lian gently bit Kuea's lips. The faint taste of wine lingered on his tongue. The kiss deepened, and then abruptly ended. Kuea simply collapsed against his shoulder. You kissed me, and then fell asleep to escape reality. You are cruel, new Kuea. Chapter 13. It took Lian some time to bring Kuea home. The drunken young man kept pushing him away. New Kuea hated being touched. He also forbade anyone from calling him New Kuea, insisting that only Lian could call him that. It's me. I can call you New Kuea. Kuea. The tall man lowered Kuea onto the sofa and watched him struggle to lift his drooping head. Lian Wang knelt beside him, a faint smile on his lips as he looked at the drunken young man. It's me. Don't smile. I don't like it. But I want to smile at New Kuea. Isn't that a good thing? No. I like Kuea smiling, but I don't want to like you. Lian Wang laughed when he saw the pout on Kuea's face. New Kuea was acting just as mischievously as the night Lian had brought him home from the Gemini Club. But I like New Kuea. No, I don't like you anymore. We broke up. He grabbed a pillow and hugged it tightly, trying to move away from Lian. We can't break up. I'm going to marry New Kuea. Really? New Kuea's doubtful expression made the tall man feel guilty. To ease the pain he had caused, Lian silently promised himself that he would never hurt him like that again. Really? But Kuea said you didn't love me. Lian Wang sat beside the discouraged young man. He wrapped an arm around Kuea's shoulders and gently pressed his nose against Kuea's for a long moment before resting their foreheads together. I love New Kuea. Not a day goes by without me loving you. Sob? But Kuea said you didn't love me. I heard it. I remember. I said it out of anger. I won't let that happen again. Kuea's face was filled with sorrow and hurt. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Lian gently stroked his cheek with a large hand before softly kissing away the tears. Can you forgive me? Did I do something wrong? Why were you so cruel to me? Why didn't you tell me what I did wrong? Does Kuea know that you're the person I love most? I've loved you for a very long time. That day hurt so much. It hurt so much here, so much that I could barely breathe. Kuea struck his chest with his fist, but Lian quickly caught his hand. Seeing New Kuea hurt himself was painful. The young man cried in Lian's arms. Lian Wang admitted that he had made a mistake. New Kuea had grown up surrounded by love and admiration. Even Lian himself had spoiled him endlessly. He never should have used such harsh words. My fault. I admit it. I was wrong. He had toyed with my feelings. I'm not a doll. And I'm not Annabelle. Yeah, I know. My New Kuea is much cuter than Annabelle. You're the white dragon, and I'm the dragon without teeth. Their names are Light Fury and Toothless. Kuea is wrong. Lian smiled when the tearful young man corrected the names of the dragon dolls he had given him. All right. You're Light Fury, and I'm Toothless. Am I still your New Kuea? Always. No matter how many times Kuea asked that question, the answer would never change. Lian would repeat it over and over until New Kuea truly believed him again. Does Kuea love me? I love New Kuea. Say it again. I love only New Kuea. More. New Kuea, whom I love the most. Kuea. The moment New Kuea looked at him, Lian Wang's defenses crumbled. The atmosphere, the timing, the wine, whatever the reason, it pushed him forward. He kissed New Kuea's soft lips. This time, Kuea shyly returned the kiss. His hands gripped Lian's shirt before wrapping around his fiancé's neck as Lian gently laid him down on the sofa. Kuea, I love you. Me too, good boy. Lian Wang adjusted Kuea's arms around his neck and continued to hold him close. Meanwhile, his warm lips continued to caress New Kuea's, leaving them slightly swollen and red. Kuea's damp lashes made his gaze look sweet enough to melt anyone's heart. Lian kissed his eyelids, then his cheeks. He rubbed his nose affectionately against Kuea's soft face before brushing kisses over the corners of his lips, his chin, and finally his pale neck. Oh, Kuea. Yes. Lian whispered into his ear before gently nibbling it, drawing a soft sigh from Kuea. The patience he had maintained for so long finally snapped. He kissed Kuea's neck until a faint pink mark appeared. Kuea kiss. Kuea blushed deeply. His shy whisper was unbearably cute. Lian Wang kissed him again. Their lips touched, then separated. He teased him repeatedly until New Kuea whined in dissatisfaction. Humph. Do you want me to kiss you? New Kuea looked away. As punishment, he received another kiss on the neck. The second mark rested beside the first like flower petals. Call yourself New Kuea, and then I'll kiss you. Kuea is teasing me. Please, do it for me. I want to hear it just once. Even Lian Wang didn't understand why he was pleading so sweetly. He had never been the sweet-talking type. He was always direct. But new Kuea was special. Kuea, kiss me please. Who? Say it again. New Kuea. The good boy received the reward he wanted. The kiss pulled him deeper than he had imagined. When Kuea Karate finally woke up, he was already in Lian's arms. Dim light seeped through the windows and stretched across the floor near the sofa. He could clearly see Lian's eyes, then the broad chest, the strong body, and the intimacy they now shared. Shoo, does it hurt? I'll go slowly. It hurts, Kuea trembled and stiffened. His fingers dug into Lian's chest as he buried his nails in warm skin. Lian Wang kissed his swollen lips to distract him while gently stroking his waist. Slowly and carefully, he continued to soothe him. Because it was new Kuea's first time, Lian refused to rush. Kuea clung tightly to him, pushing Lian's self-control to its limits. New Kuea kept calling his name, occasionally letting out soft sighs through half-lidded eyes. It took tremendous patience, but it was worth it. Kuea, don't. Good boy. I love new Kuea. His large hands supported Kuea's legs before settling them comfortably around him. Their movements gradually found a slow and steady rhythm. New Kuea seemed like someone learning to walk for the first time. He held on to Lian for balance and allowed him to guide him, step by step. Kuea, I'll go a little faster. The increase was only slight, yet Kuea could barely endure it. Their first time was careful and gentle rather than intense. Even so, emotionally, Lian felt completely fulfilled. After waiting for so long, the person he loved was finally his. Lian Wang repeatedly kissed the exhausted young man's cheeks and rubbed his nose affectionately against Kuea's soft skin. After being this close to him, Lian found himself completely captivated. He was hopelessly in love with his future wife. So this was what it felt like. Lian sighed at his impulsiveness. He had not even planned to talk about their relationship that night. Yet everything had happened so suddenly. And now he wanted even more. The figure lying on the sofa slowly woke up and sat up. Kuea picked up the trousers lying on the floor. A stinging ache in his chest and shoulders made moving difficult. Looking down, he noticed faint scratches and bite marks on his neck. He considered them signs of love. Let me carry you. Lian slipped an arm beneath Kuea's knees and lifted him effortlessly. Even though Kuea was fairly tall and not exactly light, Lian carried him without complaint. As he walked toward the bedroom, he briefly glanced at the room next door, the place that had always been new Kuea's comfort zone. The thought had never crossed his mind before. The moment Kuea woke up again, he wanted to hide under the blankets forever. The owner of the room stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his tie. Pretending to be asleep, Kuea burrowed deeper beneath the covers and wished he could disappear. Good morning, new Kuea. Caught off guard, his entire body froze. He didn't dare answer. The blanket nearly covered his eyes, and he couldn't tell whether Lian was looking at him. All he could hear were the sounds of movement and the mattress shifting. The blanket was gently pulled away. Kuea had no choice but to meet Lian's sparkling eyes. Warmth instantly spread across his face, ears, and neck. Good morning, darling. No. Ignoring the weak protest, Lian kissed him again. Kuea's hands lacked the strength to push him away. He tried to turn his head, but a warm hand held his chin in place. Only when Kuea ran out of breath did Lian finally let him go. Please come out. Unable to meet his gaze, Kuea stared down at the tip of his nose instead. He remembered everything that had happened the previous night. He remembered Lian saying he loved him, and he remembered confessing his own feelings in return. I won't. Kuea was flustered by Lian's sly smile. Couldn't he give him a little space? Kuea still didn't know how to face him. Let me see if you have a fever. Lian placed a hand against Kuea's forehead before checking his cheeks and neck. You have a slight fever. You need some medicine. I'll have someone buy porridge for you. Get up and eat when it arrives. It's only 7 o'clock. You can go back to sleep afterward. All right. Kuea felt relieved. Lian wasn't cornering him. He was acting completely normal. As always, he spoke while Kuea simply nodded. Fortunately, it was Saturday. There were no classes. Though, Kuea still felt sore. And Lian was entirely to blame. I'll come home late tonight. Make sure you eat on time. Huh? Where are you going? The question escaped before he could stop it. Kuea immediately fell silent. The seductive look Lian gave him only made him more embarrassed. Why was his heart beating so fast just because Lian looked at him? I have to oversee the brewery. I'm planning to export beer to Europe. Will new Kuea stay home alone, or do you want to come with me? I'll be fine by myself. I'll call you later. Before leaving, Lian took Kuea's hand and kissed it. Kuea thought that would be the end of it. Instead, Lian brushed his lips lightly across Kuea's palm and gave it a playful bite. The touch left his skin burning. Their eyes met. Then Lian chuckled. Finally, he left. Kuea Karate could no longer sleep. His heart was pounding too hard. He sat upright against the headboard and finally noticed what he was wearing. Lian's striped pajamas. His body no longer felt sticky, which meant Lian had cleaned him up. Ugh, what happened? He grabbed his hair and groaned. Slowly, his gaze drifted around the room. Lian's bedroom was much larger than his own. A large walk-in wardrobe occupied one side. Across from the bed stood an open clothing rack lined with neatly arranged shirts and jackets. Shelves held various belongings. Nearly 10 pairs of shoes sat in perfect rows beneath the glass-fronted storage area. The room was beautiful. A tall mirror stood in the corner, concealing shelves inside. There wasn't much clutter. It was obvious that Lian used the room only for sleeping. For several moments, Kuea sat there in confusion, trying to piece everything together. The clothes, the blankets, the pillows, the scent of the room. Everything made him feel surrounded by Lian. Last night, he and Lian. Ugh, how had everything ended up like this? And why was he so happy? It was impossible to stop smiling. Lian's words echoed endlessly in his mind. Embarrassed, Kuea buried his face in a pillow and screamed into it to muffle the sound. I love new Kuea. Those words thrilled Kuea more than anything else. More than all 20 years of their engagement. Chapter 14. Kuea Karate got out of bed for breakfast, took his medicine, and went back to sleep. He woke up again for lunch. As promised, Lian called him. When Kuea ignored the call, Lian kept calling until he finally got out of bed. Kuea even silenced his phone, but Lian ended up calling the apartment instead. His voice echoed throughout the room. Have you eaten yet, HM? You're eating right now, aren't you? That's why you didn't answer your phone. Lian's cheerful voice almost made Kuea snap at him. Why couldn't he let him rest in peace? After all, Kuea was exhausted. Still, for the dignity of the Karate family, he forced a smile and answered in a perfectly normal voice. I'm eating. Is it good? I ordered it from the hotel. It's delicious. Thank you. The Kuea Karate who had only just crawled out from under his blanket had absolutely no idea whether the food tasted good or not. What surprised him even more was how talkative Lian had suddenly become. Wasn't he supposed to be supervising the brewery? In the past, Kuea had always been the one desperately searching for topics to keep their conversations alive. Now that Kuea didn't feel like talking, Lian suddenly wouldn't stop. Go ahead and eat. I'll be home around 11. I'm still stuck at work. Yeah, don't work too hard. A small corner of his heart. No, a large part of it. Worried about Lian. Kuea should have been moving on by now. Yet Lian kept pursuing him relentlessly. Even now, even after last night. His ears grew warm as he listened to Lian's deep voice. Do you miss me? No, but I miss new Kuea. Another direct attack on his heart. Kuea felt both frustrated and restless around this version of Lian. His fingers clenched the blanket tightly. He definitely was not blushing. Absolutely not. That has nothing to do with me. Lian chuckled. All right, I won't bother you anymore. See you later. Unable to sleep any longer, Kuea got up and started eating. Today alone, Lian had told him twice that he missed him. His emotions crashed around inside him like waves. Kuea stared at his hands and suddenly felt that he needed to leave the apartment immediately. He needed to play the drums. The nearest drum set wasn't at Secret House or the Pentagon. It was at Gemini Club in Thonglor. He wondered whether Lian's people would question where he was going. To hell with it. His mind was already a complete mess. Stick to the plan, Kuea. Lian Wang's existence affected his emotions far too much. He didn't want to think about it anymore. Because if Lian missed him, then he missed Lian too. It was a complete disaster. Getting out of the Pentagon turned out to be much easier than expected. The security guards simply nodded respectfully and continued their patrols. Kuea nervously nodded back before hailing a taxi. 5 minutes later, he arrived at Gemini Club. Boy, Hey, you look like you're running away. Kuea couldn't even argue with that. He probably did look desperate. Old man, give me a cigarette. What the hell? Every time we meet, you ask for cigarettes. Despite the complaints, Jay handed him a cigarette and a box of matches. Still using these? Keeping it classic. You've become too high class after living at the Pentagon. Have you forgotten the taste of liquor, tobacco, and hanging around with a simple club owner like me? Kuea shook his head at Gemini's nonsense. After lighting the cigarette, he sat down and stared toward the Pentagon. The faint gray smoke drifting through the air eased some of the turbulence inside him. So, did your husband kick you out? Gemini pulled up a chair and sat beside him. The young man looked different than usual. His clothes were neat. His hair was slightly messy. Despite looking tired, he seemed strangely radiant. Jay immediately recognized the signs. Someone was struggling with his feelings. You two slept together, didn't you? Kuea nearly choked. His ears, face, and neck turned bright red. Gemini shook his head. There was no need to investigate further. The answer was written all over Kuea's face. How ironic. You were planning to expose his secret girlfriends, but you ended up falling even harder for him. Nothing happened. Shouldn't you be opening the club? Why are you minding my business? It's 3 in the afternoon. You want me to open a nightclub now? This isn't a cafe. But you used to sell shaved ice. Back then, running multiple businesses was trendy. Damn, you've got a good memory. Gemini leaned back. How are you? Really? Well, I'm hanging in there. To Gemini, Kuea Karate was like a younger brother. A young man carrying far too many secrets. Perhaps because he was only 20 years old. Perhaps because he had spent his entire life trying to be the perfect, obedient son. He cried over his fiancé. He insisted on ending the engagement. And now he was living with the man. Is he cheating on you? And no. He took me to the Pentagon and introduced me to his friends. Gemini let out a whistle. So, was it different from what you imagined? Who would have thought Lian really waited until I turned 20? I thought it was just an excuse, something he said to make me happy. Gemini affectionately ruffled his hair. If he's treating you well, then what's the problem? Not everything has to be complicated. Well, I'm worried. Stop jumping to conclusions. Relax. What century were you born in? Haven't you heard of people having relationships without labels? Kuea pouted. That's different. We're engaged. He'll be asking for my mother's blessing soon. Damn, you're really about to get a husband. His face burning with embarrassment, Kuea immediately fled toward the drum set. Playing drums was the perfect way to hide his shyness. Seeing that reaction, Gemini finally stopped teasing him. Instead, he sent a message. The kid is here. No reply came. The other person was probably busy. Jay didn't care. As long as the club didn't go bankrupt, everything was fine. Yawning, he picked up a broom and started cleaning. Those two really needed to sit down and talk. Watching them drag things out for so long was exhausting. Even if it wasn't his business. Kuea didn't stay long. Although Lian had texted that he wouldn't return to Bangkok until 1 or 2 in the morning, Kuea wasn't in the mood for music. Instead, he sat on the floor beside the sofa. Drawing his knees to his chest, he leaned back and picked up his phone. Then he called his best friend. Diao, hey, you sound really miserable, Kuea. Well, I'm having some problems. Can you talk right now? Am I bothering you? Of course not. You never bother me. I'm home alone. Ever since moving into Yi's house, Condio rarely spent time in his own place. The luxurious residence above the European car showroom mostly belonged to him alone these days. Hey, Kuea's voice cracked. Do you want me to come over? I can leave right now. Thonglor isn't far. It's okay. Lian will be home later. It's not that serious. I just feel confused. Condio had been Kuea's closest friend since their school days in England. They had lived together, shared a room, grown up together. Talking to Jiao felt completely different from talking to anyone else. Slowly, Kuea opened up. The more he spoke, the harder it became to stop the tears. Not because he was devastated. He simply needed someone to hear him. Lian and I finally got together last night. Are you okay? Did he pressure you? How do you feel now? It was wonderful. Jiao, it feels so good when he says he loves me. Kuea laughed softly through his tears. I love him too. Even when I thought I could walk away. I told myself it was okay if he didn't love me. But when he said he did, I believed him. Like an idiot. And I'm happy. It's okay, Kuea. If you're happy, then I'm happy too. It doesn't feel real. It feels like a dream. Then stop thinking like that. Be kinder to yourself. Let yourself be happy. Lian already apologized. He explained why he said those things. Try talking to him. You're so kind, Diao. You make me feel like everything will be alright. Condio's cheerful laugh instantly improved Kuea's mood. An optimistic friend was a gift. Sometimes the world was cruel enough that people needed someone to bring light back into it. Because everything is alright. I'm really happy for you. But what if I'm disappointed again? Then at least you'll know you tried. You've loved him for a long time. Trust him one more time. And if it doesn't work out, you'll still be able to let him go and move forward. Kuea laughed. Condio was genuinely kind. So kind that Kuea couldn't understand why he treated him the way he did. What about you? Just leave he. I'll do it right away. He's exhausting me. Let me move in with you. Sure. Or stay at secret house. He won't know. Even if I disappeared, he probably wouldn't notice. He hasn't come home for a month. Condio tried to sound cheerful, but the loneliness in his voice was impossible to miss. Sorry. I shouldn't have mentioned he. It's okay. I'm used to it. Let's stay positive. Lian Wang had originally planned to return very late. However, Jay informed him that Kuea would already be home before 11. As a result, his plans to spend the night with were cancelled. I'm leaving. Next time, don't make people search for you. You check the clock every 5 minutes. Just go home to your wife. Lian smirked. His sharp gaze swept across the luxurious condominium that belonged to his best friend. Or more accurately, Yi's hideout. He hated living there. Compared to his other residents, this place was much smaller. The elevator was crowded. Parking was limited. For someone like it was torture. Since he couldn't throw Condio out of the house, he had ended up moving out himself. Try spending time with your husband. It might help. I don't like children. That's rich coming from someone who married one. He ignored him and continued watching football. Lian said nothing more. Some problems could only be solved by the people involved. Not long afterward, Lian Wang arrived home. As he opened the door, dim light greeted him. His fiancé was asleep on the couch, facing the television. A suspense series was still playing on Netflix. Lian picked up the remote and switched the television off. The movement woke the sleeping young man. Yeah, why didn't you sleep in your room? I was waiting to watch the new episode. Lian smiled. If he had come home at 2 in the morning, Kuea probably would have fallen asleep here anyway. Waiting for him. So this was what it felt like. Having someone waiting at home. Have you eaten? I'm hungry. Will you keep me company? Lian was exhausted after a long day at the brewery. Expanding production required major investments. New machinery. Contractors. Suppliers. Countless meetings. Every decision would affect the company's future. Nothing could be done carelessly. At first, Kuea wanted to go straight to bed. But seeing Lian looking so tired, he gave in. The man rubbed his neck and shoulders as he walked toward the kitchen. There was no denying it. Lian worked incredibly hard. He was a complete workaholic. Once, Kuea had asked why he didn't simply delegate more work. As the owner, you need to understand more than anyone else. If you don't understand the overall situation, you won't recognize problems when they appear. Everything is connected. Lian's way of thinking had always impressed him. Are you going to cook? Should I order something? I'll just make an omelet. You didn't finish lunch, did you, Kuea? Lian pulled several containers from the refrigerator. He had specifically instructed his assistant to buy enough food for Kuea. After all, he was a growing young man. But Kuea had barely eaten half of one meal. No, I wasn't very hungry. Then I'll just heat this up. It's easier. Yeah, that's leftovers. Shouldn't we order fresh food? Why? We live together. If one person is busy, the other can eat first and save the rest. The other person can finish it later. Don't overthink it. Kuea wasn't used to hearing things like that. He watched as Lian put the food into the microwave. Back home, his parents would never allow such a thing. Meals were meant to be shared. Children waited for adults. Everyone ate together. Yet Lian simply reheated the food, grabbed chopsticks, and started eating. It was Kuea who felt uncomfortable watching him. Every date they had ever gone on had been elegant and perfect. Expensive restaurants. Perfect table settings. Proper etiquette. Seeing Lian eating casually from a plate surprised him. You're staring. Are you shocked by my terrible manners? And no, I just never imagined there was a version of like this. When I was little, I ate on the floor. No serving spoons. One salted fish could last 3 or 4 meals. You know my family used to run an ice warehouse business before we built everything we have now, right? I know. Mr. and Mrs. Wong are amazing. They built Lian Beverage Company from nothing. To Kuea, Lian's background had never mattered. People called him nouveau riche. So what? None of those critics had achieved what Lian had. When the company started growing, I began attending high society events. If I ate like this there, people would look down on me. I had to learn everything. Table manners, etiquette, which fork to use, which spoon, how to behave. I studied for years. I stopped enjoying food. Kuea fell silent. He understood. He understood better than anyone. He himself had spent his entire life learning how to be the perfect young master of the karate family. Even for someone born into that world, it was exhausting. How much harder must it have been for Lian to learn everything from scratch? Without thinking, Kuea placed a hand on Lian's thigh, a silent way of telling him that he had never looked down on him. Everything I did to protect something important. What? Lian Wong set down his plate. Turning toward Kuea, he gently took both of his hands. I didn't want new Kuea to be ashamed of having me as a fiancé. Kuea, I've never thought that. Not once. I've never been ashamed of you. Shoo. Lian squeezed his hands. I know, but I can't control what other people think. I don't want people looking at us and saying we're not suited for each other. I want you to feel lucky. I may not have the perfect background, but I'll prove to you, and to everyone else, that I'm worthy of taking care of you. The conversation had somehow shifted far away from table manners. Kuea's heart felt soft enough to melt. Tears gathered in his eyes. He had never known these thoughts existed inside Lian's heart. Never imagined he had worked so hard for him. Kuea makes me feel special. Lian gently cupped Kuea's cheek and leaned forward. A soft kiss brushed against his lips before he reluctantly pulled away. Can I sleep with you tonight? Kuea immediately lowered his gaze. His face burned. The kiss, the closeness, the question, all of it made him dizzy. If he agreed, would he seem too easy? But if he refused? He didn't want to refuse. Mother would scold us. A terrible excuse. The moment the words left his mouth, even he knew it. Lian smiled. Your mother won't know. Then he lowered his voice. I promise I won't tell her. Lian was a terrible seducer.